Right. Good evening, everyone. It's May 26, 2026. I'm your host, Rathbone, and we are here for another daily noticing session. Some of the top stories today are it appears that the United States is resuming its initiative called Project Freedom. We'll talk about that. Obviously, the United States has struck Iran defensively, they tell us. But we know that's not the case. There's major escalations happening. Iran is planning to retaliate as we speak. In the Russia-Ukraine front, there's more. It seems like it's getting more dire. Russia is about to make a big example out of Kiev. Kiev might not be on the map much longer, from what I hear. But I'm going to start by just taking a look at some of the top stories and headlines coming out of the news. So this is from the Wall Street Journal from 8 hours ago. It says U.S. Navy is guiding ships through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. is quietly coordinating vessel crossings through the Strait of Hormuz, according to U.S. military officials. The officials told Wall Street Journal that a Greek supertanker laden with 2 million barrels of crude communicated with the U.S. while it crossed the waterway off the Omani coast. The ship was stuck in the Middle East Gulf since early March and is now headed to India to deliver its cargo. Earlier this month, the U.S. attempted to guide ships through the vital shipping corridor as part of an initiative called Project Freedom. We remember that. It was like maybe for 2 days. I think that was happening. That was halted after Iran began attacking vessels in Saudi Arabia, restricted U.S. access to its bases and airspace, according to the Wall Street Journal, of course. A spokesman for U.S. Central Command said the U.S. wasn't resuming Project Freedom, and that reporting that said it was picking back up was inaccurate. So, okay. He said the U.S. continually communicates and coordinates with ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz, but that no military escorts are dedicated to protecting them at this time, which is true. I mean, I was listening to Douglas McGregor earlier today on Daniel Davis's podcast, and he was kicking my ass, just giving me great geopolitical analysis about the war and how it's affecting the economy, and really just by the numbers, what's going to happen and what is happening and what that portends for the future. And he brought up the idea that, like, the key word, the operative word here is guiding, because these ships apparently are already paying their fee to Iran. They're already leaving the Strait of Hormuz. It's not necessarily an escort. The United States isn't escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. They're just basically waiting at the front door, and once a ship leaves the strait, they're like, okay, great job. Let's guide you through to international waters. But that's really not necessary. It's not really something that's an accomplishment, if you will. So he was talking about the effects that the war has had on the economy, and I didn't know all of this information, but there's apparently I think something on the order of 13 million barrels of oil are being taken off the market per day. I need to brush up on the numbers, but there's been a sizable decrease in the global market. Let's just say that, and it's because of all this oil that's being taken off the market because of the blockade, because of the war. And I didn't know that the United States has, according to Douglas McGregor, it has 174 million barrels of oil in its strategic reserves. And when you think about the United States oil reserves, it helps to understand that these are, basically warehouses above ground that house millions of barrels of oil and they're spread throughout like Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas. And we've already, because we are so insulated in the States, with like the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz doesn't really affect our domestic consumption quite yet. And I think Donald Trump has been able to manipulate the markets by selling off some of the strategic oil reserves. I think that he's sold 17 million barrels so far. So we only have something like 174. So this is depleting our oil reserves in the States. And if it continues like this for another 60 days, that means that we are headed for a crisis and a global depression, and we're going to run out, and gas prices are really going to skyrocket. We're going to start feeling the effects of this war back home. And then he started talking about China and how China is very well prepared and protected from the effects of this war on the global economy, because they are 86% self-sustained in their oil infrastructure. Let's just say they don't require other countries for their. I mean, they do to a certain extent, but 86% of their oil infrastructure is all self-sustained, and they have something like 1.3 billion barrels of oil. So they have a vast more amount of resources in terms of oil and other things that I think will make them outlast the United States. Because ultimately we know that this is a war between the United States and China over global supremacy of the entire global economy. So a couple more Wall Street Journal articles I want to just take a quick look at. This one says, Iran's skirmish strategy in the Strait. The regime tries to mine Hormuz and extend its terrorist proxy war. You got to also practice media literacy when we're reading the Wall Street Journal. Obviously, it's a bunch of neocons writing this. They say the U.S. military exchange with Iran in the Strait of Hormuz is being written off as a mere skirmish, but it's also a warning. Ditto the rising Hezbollah drone attacks on Israel. To anyone listening, Iran's regime is explaining how it intends to play a deal. While Iran's negotiators speak of reopening Hormuz, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is working to make that slow and difficult. Late Monday, the U.S. military said it caught and struck Iranian boats attempting to emplace mines in the strait. I'm sure that's a bogus lie, but that's the U.S. military for you. Iran fired on U.S. planes in reply, leading the U.S. to hit Iranian missile launch sites, and that's why they claim, oh, well, this is defensive. After what? You were offensive? On Tuesday, a commercial tanker was hit by an explosion in the Gulf of Oman, where Iran has attacked before. Mining the strait again would give Iran's regime an excuse to drag out any reopening, spoiling the first phase of the proposed deal, in which blockades are supposed to end and nuclear talks continue. This is what happened after the April 7th ceasefire, when Iran's foreign minister announced a gradual reopening only for traffic to decline. Talks proceeded even as Iran fired from time to time on U.S. forces and Gulf allies. Let's see. I was thinking also about Steve Wyckoff's composite man theory. That's a concept we talk a lot about. I don't know of a lot, but we mention it. So let's just brush up on Steve Wyckoff's composite man theory. The composite man theory was actually created by Richard. Sorry, AI. Steve Wyckoff, a legendary pioneer of technical analysis in the early 20th century. The theory is a conceptual teaching tool that advises traders to look at market fluctuations as if they are the result of a single, highly strategic individual sitting behind the scenes, manipulating stock prices. In reality, this man represents the collective, highly organized behavior of smart money, large institutional investors, hedge funds, and market makers who possess the capital to move trends. So it's the composite man, right? I start to think, though, that really Donald Trump is the composite man. I mean, if there's one thing we know that Donald Trump is good at, it's manipulating the markets. And a lot of people express absurdity and confoundment, if that is even a word, at Donald Trump's maneuverings through this war and how he's just seemed to just baffle everyone with these back and forth gaslighting rhetoric and actions. They won the war. The war's back on. We obliterated them, but they're still firing at ships and jets and stuff. On and on and on and on and on. Operation Project Freedom. We know the whole story. It's crazy. It's absurd. But if you think of it from a market standpoint, they're making money hand over fist, and that's really what Donald Trump is here to do. He's here to enrich himself and his family and his constituents, his corporate donors, his Zionist donors. They're making lots of money, and that's how we need to understand this. And I really don't think that people understand just how corrupt Donald Trump is. I mean, isn't it true that he made something like $4 billion so far off of his presidency just, in the past year since he's been elected? And I was thinking about it because I saw this tweet about how many insider trades he's done. And so I asked AI, and it says, I said, can you... Wait, no, not that one. Yeah, so there was a Wall Street... That's the one I wanted to look at. That's the Wall Street Journal. Here's another Wall Street Journal. Here it is. See how Trump's accounts were busy trading big tech stocks. So he made something like 3,700 insider trades in the first quarter of 2026 alone, pivoting heavily into major technology stocks like Nvidia and Dell, while reducing stakes in Microsoft and Amazon. According to the Wall Street Journal, this unprecedented volume, involving over 30 transactions valued at more than $1 million each, was managed by third-party institutions, with the Trump Organization stating neither the president nor his family directed the investments. I mean, even when they're good at hiding where the money goes, they're bad at it. So let's take a look at this article. It says, see how Trump's accounts were busy trading big tech stocks. The Trump's investment accounts had a surge in activity, more than 3,700 trades in the first quarter. So this is the actual article that Google AI was referencing. You can see the spike in trades. Before he entered the White House, President Trump was a real estate developer and speculator. Lately, his fortune has been wagered on some big tech stocks. Money managers for the president made more than 3,700 trades in the first quarter, including million-dollar purchases of Nvidia, Dell, and other big tech stocks. Now, think about when he's off on his little diplomatic summit visits, whether it's, in Saudi Arabia or China. Who is he flanked by? He's flanked by the CEOs of these very companies. The merger of the state corporate complex. The corruption writ large for all of us to see. He doesn't bring diplomats to these foreign summits. He brings private institutional investors, the CEOs of big tech companies. That says everything, I think. Trump's managers paired his holdings in Microsoft and Amazon with sizable sales in the quarter. And I'm sure Trump would just say, hey, this is just smart business, okay? We're making deals. Yeah, deals for who? Deals for what exactly? Not anything on behalf of the American people. Remember, this is a publicly elected, appointed official. He's supposed to be serving the public interests, not his own pockets. Let's continue. The disclosures made by the U.S. Office of Government Ethics showed the pace of trading on the president's behalf far exceeded previous quarters. In a statement, the Trump org said that the president's investments were independently managed by several financial institutions. Operative word being independently. Sure. Neither President Trump, his family, nor the Trump Organization plays any role in selecting, directing, or approving specific investments, the statement said. I mean, how hard is it to send an email saying, hey, go do this for us? Or, telling them in person over lunch. They receive no advance notice of trading activity and provide no input regarding investment decisions or portfolio management. Sure thing. Trust me, bro. Here is a look at 5 tech stocks that the accounts traded in the first quarter. We investigated ourselves. We did nothing wrong. So the accounts purchased at least $1.75 million of NVIDIA's stock in the quarter, including $500,000 worth on January 6th. A week later, the administration cleared the way for NVIDIA to send its H200 artificial intelligence chips to China. You see that? You see how that works? You buy stock, and then you promote some government policy which makes the company flourish, infuses it with taxpayer cash, awards its government contracts. Suddenly the stock surges, and you sell the profit margin. Last week, Trump invited NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang to travel aboard Air Force One for the state visit to China, just like I was talking about. Oracle, the president's accounts disclosed more than a dozen transactions in Oracle, including a sale of at least 1 million of the stock on January 6 too. He's just rubbing it in our noses. Oracle officially took a stake in TikTok's U.S. operations on January 23rd in a deal helped by Trump's delayed enforcement of a ban of the social media platform. So I like how they just, here's the market manipulation, here's the market action, and then here's the government policy action. You see how they coincide? You see how they benefit? For Microsoft, on January 12th, the president announced that Microsoft had pledged to manage utility costs at its artificial intelligence data centers to avoid squeezing American ratepayers. Thank you and congratulations to Microsoft, he wrote on a post on Truth Social. Around a month later, on February 10, his accounts unloaded at least 5 million of his holdings in Microsoft. So it's like, okay, they're gonna take on more costs. Let's sell that. They're not going to be making as much profits. That's about as high as we go. Let's short sell it. We'll buy the dip. Blah 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 blah, and on we go. On February 10th, Trump's accounts bought shares of Dell in a transaction worth between 1 and 5 million. Around a week later, while speaking to steel workers in Georgia, Trump praised the PC maker's chief executive, commending Michael Dell and his wife for jump-starting the Trump accounts program. He told the crowd to go out and buy a Dell computer. That's right, we just bought 5 million worth of shares. So go get your Dell. Got to pump those numbers, baby. This is capitalism. The grift continues. Don't forget to, speaking of grifts, don't forget to tap that like and subscribe to the channel. Intel. Trump's accounts added to their holdings in Intel, which the U.S. government took a 10% stake in last year. Oh, that's right, yeah. Another government subsidy there. The transactions amount to 6 purchases totaling between $95,000 and $280,000 in stock in March. Intel's share price has rocketed since the end of the first quarter, and Trump has since said he wished the government took a larger stake. Yeah, so he could make more money. So there you go. The corruption writ large. In other news, Israelis don't even pretend they're indigenous to the Middle East anymore. They just look at you like this. They need to apply some sunscreen if you're asking me. In other news, the resemblance is uncanny. Here's a feel-good story. HZB shows us some footage of an FPV drone, otherwise known as a quad, as I've learned, chasing an Israeli soldier near Shomera. Let's have a look. You get to see a tiny hat running away, scared. It's precious. Run, Shlomo, run! Shlomo, you must never ask who the drones hum for. The drones hum for thee, Shlomo. How scary is that? But normally we see these drones targeting, Palestinian civilians. It's kind of refreshing seeing, it go the other way, I have to say. Welcome to VIP status, Munda Cakes. I appreciate that. That's really based of you. I wonder what happened in the end. What do you think? It's so scary than seeing that drone fucking like a big ass mosquito just heading your way. Shit. In other news, there's a flash sale for Depends diapers if you're living in Israel. By the way, they're still murdering journalists in Gaza. Israel killed a photographer, Fadi El-Magari, today in a targeted attack in his car in Gaza. Here he is. His Instagram page, 91,000 followers, Palestinian in Gaza. I capture beauty amidst chaos. Be a part of my art project, he said. Fadi El-Magari, martyred. Young kid, just born into a concentration camp. No other way to put it. Mark Levin is just basically rubbing it in our faces that they're like winking, hey, we know that these aren't defensive strikes. We just like to say that, Because obviously the United States yesterday struck Iran. They called it defensive, and we marveled at that concept, being as how the United States is literally 3,000 miles away from the Persian Gulf. But here's Mark Levin saying, looks like we may need a lot more, quote, defensive strikes on Iran, basically winking at us that we know it's not defensive. We just say that shit just so that you guys can eat it up. We can justify our war crimes. Here's a picture of Mark Levin when people stop killing other people. Fuming. He's coping, he's brooding, he's seething. But you see what happens, right? I mean, there's this peace deal that gets announced by Trump. It's basically a concession of defeat on part of the United States. Iran claims this victory ostensibly, and then what happens? Netanyahu ramps up the murder rampage, starts attacking Lebanon, starts making provocative escalatory statements in the press. The Zionists are, furious at Trump. They're putting the pressure on him, and he ends up caving. And then now, look, we're back to striking Iran within another day. That's why I say it's psychopathic only until you realize that Donald Trump is here just to make money. He's just using the power of his office to make money. And in order to do that, he's in bed with the Zionists. It's like how Nick Bryant put it, the guy that basically devoted his life to studying the Epstein scandals and other pedophilic networks. He said, in regards to the Epstein files and the Epstein scandal, it's like these people are on the most amazing yacht in the middle of the ocean. They have everything they could possibly want. Everything is legal. Nothing is taboo. They can do whatever they want. But if they leave the yacht, the people on the yacht will make sure that person drowns. And I think that's a good analogy for what we see with Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump wants to leave the metaphorical yacht, but he is tied and tethered to the Zionists. He's enjoying it, but he also knows that if he were to ever do a 180, he's a dead man, and they'll probably come after his family too. So I think that's sort of what's going on. Here is sometimes AI hallucinates, but also tells the truth. Let's take a look. This is what happens every single time Trump inches toward a deal with Iran. This is a metaphor that explains facts, right? Stop! This is AI because he's grabbing onto hair, and the hair isn't just flying away. Stop! up. I don't think he's resisting that hard. Okay, I think that's the only thing I would take issue with. So apparently Bernie Sanders is upset that another billionaire is taking his thunder, stealing his thunder. And hang on, I'm just trying to get caught up. Everything's good with the stream, right? Yeah, he clearly likes it. But you know, they're calling Tom Steyer, the Democrat, one of the Democrat frontrunners for the governor of California. They're calling him the billionaire Bernie Sanders, because he's talking about taxing billionaires, but he himself is a billionaire. And we're supposed to believe that he's a champion for the working class because of what? His rhetoric, and not his entire livelihood and his entire personal history as the CEO of Farallon Capital, a hedge fund investment firm that has done untold harm and damage to third world countries like Ethiopia, Mozambique, and in Indonesia, but also, places like Colorado, domestic places where it's the same old story. They have to maximize profit. They have to make these investments that are high returns, but they don't want to incur any risk, right? That's the capitalist method. You want a lot of returns. You want no risk. That's why you need the government to deregulate, make it all legal. So you end up fucking over communities. You end up fucking over the environment. And that's exactly what Tom Steyer enriched himself doing, investing, in millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in the coal industry, in the private prison industry. He's like one of the largest stakeholders in some company called, like, it literally is called like Private Prison something, or Private Correctional. I think they use correctional, but some private corporation that basically profits off of forced labor, free labor, basically slavery in the prison system. And he's made millions and billions off of that too. So he's the billionaire Bernie Sanders, though, we're supposed to believe. And anyway, I think Bernie Sanders has some words about this. Bernie Sanders is the limited hangout. We know he's compromised, but it's funny when they fight amongst themselves. I think it's revealing. So Senator Bernie Sanders brilliantly mocks the billionaire class. He reveals a 5% wealth tax would cost Jeff Bezos $14 billion. Imagine that. Jeff Bezos would be taxed $14 billion, and he'd still have a staggering $265 billion to survive. Excuse me. All right, let's take a look at this clip.
My opponents, of which there are many, claim that this legislation is punitive and confiscative. Oh, we're just picking on these poor billionaires. I mean, my God, how cruel can you be? But I want you to hear this. This just shows you how crazy the economy is today. If that bill were in effect this year, Elon Musk would pay $39 billion more in taxes.
Here's 39 just in taxes. That's how much money they have. This guy has $830 billion, depending on the day of the week, and just being taxed $36 billion, and you still have another $800 billion. Really, Jesus Christ!
Punchline: this confiscatory, terrible, drastic, radical piece of legislation would leave Musk with just $737 billion left to survive. Now, I know you're worried about him, but what do you think? Think he can make it on $737 billion? Yeah, maybe. Jeff Bezos would owe about $14 billion more in taxes, but he would still have $265 billion.
But then how is he going to fund his data center project or his penis rocket ship project? I mean, come on, guys. The guy's got to finance his third mega yacht.
To put a roof over his home. I
mean, it's just insane to me that we allow a private individual in the United States to accrue basically $1 trillion to themselves. I mean, we thought having $1 billion, and it's completely unnecessary. It's completely superfluous for any one person to have $1 billion to their name. And these motherfuckers have hundreds upon hundreds of billions of dollars. They're worth more than entire GDPs of countries. That's just insane to me. I can't get. I mean, that just tells you everything. So somebody was asking about. Oh, you know what? They were asking about Alexandrovich, not this guy. But there's an update to. Do y'all remember this guy in Las Vegas? He's an Israeli citizen. He was caught with an illegal biolab, which is filled with all these crazy viruses. But the feds are dropping charges against him. Now, who would have thought that? So apparently he had 2 biolabs. He had one in LA and one in Las Vegas. Let's take a look at this article. This is from Las Vegas News Channel. KTNV, federal charges for property manager connected to Las Vegas illegal biolab dropped. So it was what? Federal charges for property manager. Okay. Ori Solomon is his name, the property manager arrested in connection with an illegal biolab at a Las Vegas short-term rental, is no longer facing federal charges. He's getting the Israeli treatment, I guess. Yisrael Chai, don't ask any questions. Goyim. Channel 13 learned that Solomon's federal charges were dismissed without prejudice. However, he still faces a criminal charge in Clark County for the improper disposal of hazardous waste. This all stems from an investigation after local and federal officials discovered what has been called an illegal biological lab inside a home he managed near Washington Avenue and Hollywood Boulevard. I guess this is drone footage showing law enforcement searching the home in late January. They got a whole fucking SWAT team. So they have a SWAT team, they do a raid, they find all this illegal shit, and they're like, you know what? Nothing to see here. What's that? You're a dual citizen? And what country is it? Oh, well, shit. Should we book you a first-class ticket to Israel? He is the chosen one. The biolab was blessed by the Rabbi. By the Rebbe. Don't they say it like Rebbe? What's the difference between Rebbe and Rabbi? Is there one? Quiet, everyone, the tiny hat man speaketh. Zionist finance minister Smotrich says, for every drone, 10 buildings in Beirut will be destroyed. This is what barbaric Western regimes support, says Dr. Morandi.
אני אמרתי בצורה חד משמעית.
He says, I've said in no uncertain terms, and I reiterated yesterday in my own voice, alongside a very significant budgetary investment in technological and other solutions to defend against the threat of explosive drones. The best, fastest, and most effective way to stop them is simply to announce that for every drone, 10 buildings in Beirut will be destroyed. I'm pretty sure for every non-drone, 10 buildings in Beirut have been destroyed. I'm pretty sure buildings have been destroyed in Beirut and Lebanon for decades now without the antagonism of FPV drones. So if the buildings in Beirut run out, he says, we will move on to Tyre, Sidon, and Bekaa, imposing such unbearable costs on the enemy that they will completely cease their fire. They've been saying this for decades, man. Going back to for a while, but at least the 80s, early 80s. And they've yet to win. Insane. So they're coping. And I like that they're, at least they're not talking about how they're, continuing unabated in Gaza. They're actually facing some heat. And I like it. But I don't like what they're doing, of course. And we don't condone violence, all right? We're a very peaceful stream. We like peace. So Norman Finkelstein, if you've been following, has been taking some heat for criticizing people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens for, I don't know, I mean, for, I guess he's just expressing skepticism in their analysis and their angle because they are historically neocons, which I can understand that. But they are allies in the fight against Zionism. And a lot of people are upset with Norman for some of the things he said. He's criticized the BDS movement, which I disagree with. But Brianna Joy Gray interviewed him a while back, and she says, given the renewed interest in this topic, it's worth revisiting my interview with Norm from last month, in which we debate how the left should understand Israel criticism coming from Tucker, Owens, and MTG. I forgot about MTG as well, of course. So let's see what this clip says.
I do believe that we're in a difficult situation now because the right is, at least on one issue, masquerading itself as the standard bearer of a leftist issue. Well, it has historically been an issue of the left. And it's in a very different trajectory than the left. It's a very different trajectory.
One thing I disagree with this is that it's not just any issue. It is the issue. It's the principal issue of our day, and we're going up against the Epstein regime. And finally, there's this fissure, this fracture happening in the MAGA movement. People are suddenly, the veil is being lifted of this left-right psyop, and I just believe that anyone still trying to play up this left-right thing is strangling the baby in the crib, you know, before we can even mount some actual substantial resistance to what is happening to our government. We're pearl clutching because the people, you know, the resistance is not pure enough. So it's like, we can always do this. We can always find at fault, you know, someone who's taking a principled stance against an issue like Zionism. And what that leaves us with is just to be apathetic. We're not even going to try to reach across the aisle. We're not trying to organize with people on a human level. We're going to disregard them on an ideological basis. I have to push back against that for sure.
The agenda of the right is not my agenda. You know,
well, certainly not. But this is a void that's not going to get.
But many people it is, unfortunately. I cannot
see. Brianna Joy Gray was about to say the thing that I was just saying. It's a void that's not going to get filled. It's a space that's just going to not be occupied. We've got to occupy that space. We've got to mount some organizational efforts to combat this Zionist institution.
I believe that you would never believe how many emails I get. What do you mean the Israelis didn't kill Kennedy? How can you say that? You know, so irate, so indignant. You know, I don't know where things are headed, but for me, it's a source of concern as a person of the left.
You know, whether or not you believe that, or, you know, whether the Israelis killed Kennedy or not, I mean, that seems like sort of a debate to be held in an academic seminar somewhere in a university. It's not the principal antagonism. And to make that like the forefront issue, like whether you agree with it, and then to blow that up to be more important than opposing Zionism is reactionary.
That these have now become the spokespersons on the leftist issue.
She does not like that.
Now, they have if I can use the term, they have hijacked the issue. And I believe they can take it in places which are grounds for concern.
I mean, you're kind of like promoting that same cynicism that they promote, that, oh my God, how could you be principled in this stance? How could you, if you're opposing genocide morally, but you know, you're compromised on other issues, there must be some sort of angle that you're playing. There's no human element. It's sort of like taking the humanity out of these people and saying it's really just a hand rubbing manipulation. They're really trying to force this other agenda, and they're using the Trojan horse of the Palestine movement as a way to, further that agenda. But I disagree with that. I disagree with that way of looking at it.
Though it's not the priority now. The priority, as I said, ICE is not knocking on the doors of Jews. It's knocking on the doors of undocumented workers. I get that. I have no problem with that.
I think we just need to be stronger than the our rhetoric needs to be stronger than on the right. If it's really that much of a problem, I saw him on Candace Owens, and he balked at teaching her some of the or correcting her on some of her ahistorical takes about the history of socialism. I mean, he could have put her in her place and said that's what she's saying. He very gingerly placated that situation. So he kind of embodied the same behavior in that interview with Candace Owens that he's detesting right now. He was being very obsequious to Candace and not challenging her. But I think it's okay to challenge them. I say all the time that I find solidarity with people that are on the right side of history in this issue that isn't just any issue. It's the only issue of our day. I mean, it's the principal one, and we need all the help that we can get. And we can in the short term ally with these anti-Zionists that are on the right historically, and we can ally with them on that point, and then we can challenge them on the other points, because I think it's all related, And I welcome having discussions with people on the right about this. I think this is the time when there should be dialogue, and we should be confronting these people in the marketplace of ideas. But that's not to say that we should just look upon them skeptically. We can have healthy skepticism, but not corrosive skepticism, which ultimately leads us to not trying to form some sort of coalition,
No problem with it.
Anyway, that's my take on it, at least. So, Power to the People says, why on earth does the U.S. keep a for-profit healthcare system that delivers worse outcomes at higher costs than countries with universal healthcare? The answer is infuriating. Excuse me. For-profit healthcare has generated 51 billionaires on Forbes' annual billionaires list, and in a country ruled by profit, creating billionaires is more important than investing in the health and well-being of its own people. It's always the same old story. This is an insane clip from Scam Con Man. He says, we see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter. They're paywalling the idea of intelligence, like they've paywalled every other fucking thing in this economy or in this world.
Fundamentally, our business, and I think the business of every other model provider, is going to look like selling tokens. They may come from bigger or smaller models, which makes them more or less expensive. They may use more or less reasoning, which also makes them more or less expensive.
So intelligence is going to be subscription based. You can get the silver deal, or you can get the gold deal. You can get the gold package. Which tier of intelligence would you like? Would you like to be somewhat smart or more smart or extremely intelligent? Meanwhile, they can't even define intelligence. I mean, we see every day just how laughable these chatbots actually are at demonstrating intelligence. And then this schmuck is going to tell us that intelligence is going to be like a utility, like water.
They may be running all the time in the background trying to help you out. They may run only when you need them if you want to pay less.
And also think about this. You have to understand the history of OpenAI. Remember, it started as a nonprofit. They had all this, altruistic philosophy. They were going to, This was not for profit. They were here to not make money. They were here only to solve a lot of human problems in our society and make the world better, right? That's what they sold us on. But whether he's a liar, which he is, or whether he's just ignorant, either way, he quickly learned that that business model was not going to save him in the highly competitive, cutthroat, cannibalistic economy, or I guess I should say culture, of Silicon Valley. You know, like I say, the only reason that we know about ChatGPT is because OpenAI struck a deal with Microsoft to the tune of $40 billion. It might have been more than that. I think it was at least $40 billion. And in that deal, they acquired access to all of Microsoft's data centers and its huge cache of GPUs and computers and chips. And if they didn't have those material resources that Microsoft provided, they wouldn't have been able to train their ChatGPT model to the extent to where it becomes a viral sensation in 2022. And, you know, another part of that contract was that Microsoft is a multinational corporation. They're, you know, a huge conglomerate. Their business model is built on, you know, profit accumulation every quarter. They, you know, it's just the same business model of every corporation: make more money, raise the shareholder price, secure more investments. And how are you going to do the right thing as a CEO in that cutthroat style of, you know, sociopathic style of an economy? You're forced, you're compelled to violate all kinds of moral principles in the pursuit of profit accumulation. Because if you don't do that, your company is going under. You're going to be a lame duck. Somebody else is going to undercut you. Somebody else is going to do the things that you won't do because you have some morals. Well, that's not the game that's being played. So I'm listening to him right now and saying, like, our business, he's talking about this new business model. I thought this was a nonprofit company. I mean, I know it hasn't been for a number of years. They've had to adapt, but just look at the arc here, you know, look at the evolution of this company, how it started, what its mission statement was, and where it is now. Now they're talking about how, you know, there's going to be a subscription model, and intelligence is actually a utility. It's like it's another resource that we're going to paywall like we do every other natural resource. And it's just one big grift, of course. And David Icke has got the ick, and he's completely right. He says pure fucking evil, an anti-human agenda by a non-human force.
They may work super hard, you know, spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions, someday billions of dollars on a single problem that's really valuable. But we see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for. The demand that we see for that seems like
just use it for what, you know, human trafficking, arms sales, money laundering, blackmail, whatever you want to do, it's fine. Just make sure you pay us our shekels.
It's going to continue to just go like this. And if we don't have enough, we either can't sell it, or the price gets really high and it, you know, kind of goes to rich people, or society makes a bunch of sort of central planning decisions that I think almost always go badly about, you know, we're going to use our limited compute supply for this and not that. So the best thing to me throughout all the history of capitalism, innovation, whatever you want, is to just flood the market.
Yeah.
Flood the market. He actually said capitalism, too. Usually they don't say the C word. They don't say capitalism, and they don't say class. But hey, you know, you got to flood the market. The market,
fundamentally,
from the market,
our business, and I think the business
you shall
of every...
be set. The market shall set you free, folks. The IRGC released footage showing a successful interception of a U.S. MQ-9 drone, Reaper drone, yesterday. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Here it is. The IDF begins ground invasion against Lebanon beyond its self-declared yellow line buffer zone in southern Lebanon. Israel's new yellow line in Lebanon. Here's this infographic. Israeli forces say they have established a yellow line in southern Lebanon, similar to an Israeli military measure in the besieged Gaza Strip. So, another evidence, another example of Lebanon getting the Gaza treatment. The Gazification of Lebanon is happening, sadly. And this ghoul is at the center of it. Ben-Gvir says Israel will not allow Trump to make a deal with Iran. No shit, Sherlock. Who cares what this inbred hobbit thinks? He says, first of all, there's something called the real thing, which is human life. A bad agreement for the state of Israel can harm human life. I know that Nosferatu and all of us as members of the cabinet, both a small cabinet and a large cabinet, as the government of Israel, cannot allow this to happen. But this is a bad agreement. This is an agreement that can harm the state of Israel, and we will not allow this to happen. A bad agreement will not happen. It cannot happen, because in the end, the agreement is bad. He's so eloquent. It has nothing to do with the elections, blah, blah, blah. And the clip stops there. Well, he sounds like he's coping, doesn't it? In other news, Elon continues to falsely call Hitler a socialist, and Grok continues to correct him, explaining that Hitler was a fascist who rejected Marxist socialism and class struggle. Here's the T. Bom, bom, bom. So Elon Musk says Hitler was also left, just a different type of left. So, right. A hardcore socialist, he says. So he gets fact-checked by Grok. Grok says Hitler was a fascist, not a socialist. The Nazi Party's full name included socialist for propaganda appeal to workers. So, I mean, Grok has more critical thinking skills than Elon Musk, but that's not too surprising. Hitler explicitly rejected Marxist socialism, class struggle, and internationalism. He purged actual socialists, banned their parties, sent them to camps, allied with industrialists, and privatized industries while preserving private property aligned with state national goals. This is 1,000% true. In fact, it's often said that the Nazis popularized the term privatization in the 30s because of how they actually, at a time during the global depression where you had a lot of governments, especially in the West, who were moving towards what some might consider state socialism, where the state was actually bankrolling these industries and keeping them afloat. Hitler did the exact opposite. He reprivatized. He sold off more state property to the industrialists. That was his pledge to the hyper-capitalists in Germany. And that's why all the hyper-capitalists and industrial monopolists co-signed that letter to von Hindenburg when Hindenburg won the election to appoint Hitler as vice chancellor, which he did. Now tell me, why would a bunch of uber capitalists, privatizers, why would they want a socialist, an actual socialist in power who wanted to, socialism always calls for agrarian reform. Socialism calls for the reappropriation of private property to be state-owned or publicly owned, and that was not something that Hitler did. So you have to parse it out. You have to use critical thinking. You have to understand that just because somebody calls themselves a thing doesn't mean that they are that thing. I could call myself the Pope. Doesn't mean I'm the Pope, right? Well, the Nazis weren't socialist, even if they called themselves that, because you have to look at the material policies that they carried forth, the policy decisions that they made. What did their economy look like? How was it organized? Et cetera, ad nauseum, ad infinitum. Anna Kasparian says that U.S.-based propagandists for Israel cosplaying as journalists will keep regurgitating bullshit from the Israeli terror regime about how the IDF is targeting Hezbollah. Does this look like Hezbollah to you? The IDF is demolishing entire villages in Lebanon. They leveled the entirety of Gaza. Yet these despicable excuses for reporters have the audacity to brazenly lie to all of us. They sit in their comfortable little studios and effortlessly provide cover for genocide and ethnic cleansing as actual journalists get mowed down by the very terrorists our news actors provide cover for. And this says, Israeli terror in Lebanon. In a dangerous move, Israeli aircraft bomb the Karon Dam in Bekaa. So, another war crime targeting public infrastructure. This is literal international terrorism, just in case anyone is confused. The definition of terrorism is to use violence to force a political goal, violence against the civilians, whether it's their civilian infrastructure or the actual population itself. In this case, it's both. To force a political goal, to humiliate, punish, and undermine the civilian population so that they, I don't know, rise up against their own government. That's what they always think that's going to happen and never does. According to Israel, there was a Hezbollah fighter inside the water. Can't make this shit up. He was there. He was a Hezbollah fish. The fish was Hezbollah. Suleiman says, breaking. Trump begs Iran to surrender. Donald Trump says, if Iran surrenders, admits the Navy is gone, admits that their Navy is gone when it's not gone, but if they admit it, and resting at the bottom of the sea, and their Air Force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high. Man, this guy is just a fucking fantasy. He's living in a fantasy world. Shouting, I surrender, while waving wildly the representative white flag. And if their entire remaining leadership signs all necessary documents of surrender and admit their defeat to the great power and force of the magnificent USA, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journal. He calls the Wall Street Journal. That's funny. The corrupt and now irrelevant CNN and all other members of the fake news media will headline that Iran had a masterful and brilliant victory over the USA. It wasn't even close. The Democrats and media have totally, he's still pumping that, Democrats. He came up with that. He's so proud of it. The Democrats and media have totally lost their way. They have gone absolutely crazy. Methinks the crazy call is coming from inside the house, the White House, Donald Trump. So everything he said, just apply that in retrograde. Tom Steyer is still trying to market himself as the good billionaire. He says, if you think it's strange that the only candidate who supports taxing billionaires is a billionaire, well, so do I. Yeah, it's a really funny coinky-dink. But here, I'm self-acknowledging that I know this is crazy. I know this doesn't make sense, but I, a billionaire, am here because I care about the working class.
When the 7 leading candidates for governor of California were on a stage, they asked if you were going to tax billionaires, and one person said yes. And you're looking at the one person. I've been saying for a long time, we need to be taxing billionaires.
That's awesome, man. He's been saying, so is Bernie Sanders for a long time. Lots of people have been paying lip service to this idea. I think we're well past taxing the rich at this point. Wouldn't you agree?
Like me more. We need to be taxing the big
We just have to tax the pedophiles and then everything is okay.
Corporations more. California's an incredibly successful.
We know they're eating babies. We know they're holding ballistic rituals where they sacrifice children. But if we just tax them a 5% marginal rate, we could solve so much.
State, on average, we have the highest poverty rate in the United States of America. Something's not right. When the 7...
Something's not right, all right. And I think it has something to do with Tom Steyer. So just suspend disbelief is what they tell us. Trump and the New York Police Department labels Americans who oppose data centers as violent anti-tech extremists as law enforcement prepares for a full-fledged crackdown on dissent against AI. The ruling class plans on making opposing the technocratic feudal state illegal. It's a great way of putting it. We don't have a democracy. We don't even have a constitutional republic. We have a technocratic feudal state run by pedophilic baby-eating oligarchs. Gross.
The Trump administration and law enforcement plans to crack down on anti-AI and anti-data center sentiment, smearing the American people as anti-tech, violent extremists. There is a massive uproar against AI and data centers after they displaced American communities, driving up utility costs and using up and polluting our water. 71% of the American people oppose the massive expansion of AI and data centers into their communities. Despite the protests and mass opposition against AI and these massive data centers, the ruling class is completely unresponsive to the will of the American people. Instead of addressing the concerns that the American people have regarding AI and data centers, you have law enforcement, including Zohran Mamdani's NYPD, that is joining the Trump administration and smearing the American people as violent extremists. The NYPD is predicting massive civil unrest as the ruling class continues their technocratic dystopian agenda. And the NYPD makes it 100% clear that they're not here to side with the people against data centers and AI, but they're here to protect and serve their big tech overlords and to help them implement their dark AI agenda.
Yes, indeed. Always love the hotspots from our friend Nick Cruz. I hope you follow him on YouTube and on Twitter. Another, another Ben Gvir clip. It says, Israel needs to cut electricity to Lebanon. I remember another defense minister saying this a short while ago, a couple of years back, after October 7th, in regards to Gaza. Didn't we just say Lebanon's getting the Gaza treatment? Oh, God, please don't fucking say it. Don't spray it. We are not willing to continue the battles, he says, but rather want to defeat them. The electricity in Lebanon needs to be turned off. These fucking ghouls just do not understand the concept of fighting a war. It's only just attacking civilians. To conquer the echo of the Zaharani, what is the Zaharani? I've never heard that word. Even more and return to a fierce war. The state of Israel, he says, cannot absorb and feed, he repeats. I tell the head of the government, stop it now. No, you guys are absorb and starve. That's what your MO is. I tell the head of the government, stop it now. Stop it now, this time with all you might. Please, Nosferatu. Nosferatu, where are you? Help us, Nosferatu. You're our only hope. Here's a clip from Jeffrey Sachs claiming not one U.S. president ever really had control of the CIA. I'd believe it.
Who was the last president to control the CIA?
No one had actual control over the CIA.
Ever,
because most of the time, with one pertinent, horrible example, presidents have gone along with the CIA. Of course, the one horrible, shocking, disgusting example is John F. Kennedy, who famously said that he would like to
dismantle
take the CIA and tear it into 1,000 pieces. And maybe those were his last words, in essence.
That's so true. Jackson Hinkle says the CIA is the shadow government. Here's a meme from 134 years ago. This cartoon was drawn 134 years ago, and 134 years later, the problem has only gotten worse. Fuck. Here's some wish casting. I hope it comes true. As Mushtaba Khomeini says that the shaky Zionist regime and the cancerous tumor are approaching the final stages of their ominous existence. Ooh, don't threaten me with a good time. Guys, it's not a genocide, but here is before and after Israelis' war on central Rafah. The time lapse here. So they've completely leveled Rafah. Rafah does not exist anymore. It's literally an Israeli military base. They've already started constructing a military base in Rafah on top of the mass graveyard that it is. I'm sure there'll be a Starbucks there in no time. Utterly depressing. How can you not let this jade you, about the nature of the world that we live in? In other news, Jared Kushner looks like an angry lesbian woman. Look at that, those supple cheeks. It's a shame with all that money he couldn't buy himself a personality. Still slimy as ever. Here it is. This is what I was just talking about. This photo shows Israel building a new military base. Oh, I'm sorry. This is over another Palestinian city, over the ruins of Khan Yunis. So everything we just saw about Rafah, yeah, well, that's Khan Yunis. Now they've already started constructing a base in Khan Yunis. And it's like pictures like this make me realize just how small Gaza is. It really is such a small enclave. Mm. 25 miles long, 5 miles wide. The genocide can be seen from space. The footprint of the genocide can be seen from space. So what is happening exactly, asks Brianna Joy Gray, in response to this clip of Tucker Carlson going completely rogue on live TV. He boldly demands that ordinary Americans completely stop paying their credit card debt. He brilliantly compares massive banks to cartel drug dealers, exposing how the corrupt system intentionally traps students in endless debt. Let's take a look.
If you're in debt to anybody, you're literally in debt to them. You owe them something you haven't yet paid. So that is, by definition, their control over you, right?
Yeah, they have control over you, and they can take your assets if you don't pay them. So
they
I totally understand it, and it's a risky. Depending on the type of person. Some people are more risk taking when they don't have the funds. I don't believe you should be taking out loans that you can't afford.
Yeah.
It's people saying don't spend money you don't have. It's something most people are aware of, but some people don't practice that.
Yeah, I used to feel that way. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think people should stop paying their credit cards. I know no one else agrees with me. And, you have a moral obligation. Really? Well, you have a moral obligation not to send credit card applications to kids in college.
Thank you, Comrade Carlson. Finally. Well, can we play the Soviet national anthem? Bom, 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 bom. All right.
So this goes both ways. It's like just blaming the drug addict and never mentioning the dealer. Someone's selling the fentanyl, and that person is on the hook too. So that's how I feel. So is it a sin to rip off your drug dealer? I guess. It's not one I'm going to judge you for.
Sinful.
Yeah, I think
it depends on whether the drug dealer has a tiny hat or not.
100% agree with you there. Yeah.
Let's read. Dr. Butch Ware has a thought for us. He says, there's no greater direct corruption of the principles of democratic governance, are you paying attention, than to allow a billionaire to personally purchase the highest office in a state. Remember Tom Steyer? Tom Steyer spent $200 million. Or if, he did, but if he wins, he would have spent $200 million to purchase an election. And if he did, then you don't have a democracy, you have an oligarchy. If Xavier Becerra, his challenger, his Democratic frontrunner challenger, can have corporations purchase an election for him, you have an oligarchy. Without publicly funded elections and spending limits, democracy is a sham. He's absolutely correct. He always comes correct. That's Dr. Butchware. He's running for governor as a Green Party candidate. We've been advocating for him. We've endorsed his campaign. He's faced such subterfuge by the Democrats, illegally sabotaging his campaign for governor. They pushed him off the ballot quite illegally. He's suing the Secretary of State, I believe, right now, and he's getting some motion in that. We're going to have him on the show on Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we're going to ask him all the appropriate questions about his campaign. And I hope you join us for that. It should be an enlightening conversation. And if you have any questions for him, our wonderful moderator, Obi-Wan, has created a thread in the Discord channel called Ask Butchware. So if you have questions you'd like me to ask him, I will take a look at it. And if I deem them appropriate and insightful, then I will ask them. Okay, moving on. Here's a clip of the U.S. bombing an Iranian naval vessel. I think we saw this. This is from last night. Yeah, these are all... Okay, I think we're caught up. Let's switch over and talk a little bit about Russia, Ukraine. There are major escalations happening in this war. There was a really devastating strike. I think it was a drone strike committed by Ukraine against a school, I think of college-age young girls, killed 21 of them, something like that. Russia is furious about this. From what I understand, the Russian population is out for blood right now. Putin's making all these nuclear exercises happen, sending a message to Europe. Seems like there's going to be a big clash between Europe and Russia, and specifically with Nato, major escalations. But there was an important phone call that Lavrov, Sergei Lavrov, who's the foreign minister for Russia, had with Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State. And Larry Johnson has some thoughts about it. I thought we'd take a look and learn. It says, Lavrov tells Rubio Russia will end the war with Ukraine and the West. So defiance seems to be the theme of the latest news coming out of this conflict. Today's Lavrov-Rubio call was a highly significant and alarming diplomatic communication covering three major topics. The call took place at Lavrov's request, with Rubio currently on a 4-day trip to India, attending the Quad meeting in New Delhi. State Department spokesperson Tommy Pigott confirmed Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke today with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at the minister's request. The parties exchanged views on the Russia-Ukraine war, bilateral relations, and the situation in Iran. Here's a full account. The message number one, imminent systematic strikes on Kiev. So I was listening to Scott Ritter also earlier today, and he was talking about how Kiev is about to receive a major escalation. And according to Scott Ritter, Putin is sending a message to Europe and making an example out of Kiev right now. We know Kiev got hit with a couple of Reshnik missiles, that's a huge ballistic missile. I don't know much. I mean, I'm not into missile porn, but I hear that's a doozy. The Oreshniks. We hear a lot about the Oreshniks. Maybe somebody can help me out with that. But so by direct order of President Vladimir, so he's sending a message saying everything that is happening to Kiev can happen to Berlin. It can happen to Belgium. It can happen to London. It can happen to Paris, what have you? Any major city in Western Europe. So the most alarming element of the call was its primary purpose. By direct order of President Vladimir Putin, Lavrov informed Rubio that Russian armed forces are launching systematic strikes on facilities in Kyiv used for the needs of the Ukrainian armed forces. The strikes are described by Moscow as a response to the Kyiv regime's continued attacks against civilian population and infrastructure. So Ukraine is taking a page out of Israel's playbook, out of America's playbook. It's all the same playbook. In Russia, so specifically citing a recent deadly attack on a college dormitory. So it was a college dorm. A college dorm was struck in the Russian town of Starobelsk, which killed at least 21 people, mainly teenage girls, which Moscow described as the last straw. They're tired of this shit. The bear is pissed. The bear got poked. Russian troops subsequently launched a massive strike on Kyiv using Iskanders, Zircons, X-101 cruise missiles, and Oreshnik hypersonic missiles. Approximately 50 missiles and 700 drones. That's crazy. Message 2. Evacuate U.S. diplomats from Kyiv. So Lavrov drew Rubio's attention to a Russian Foreign Ministry statement issued on May 25, recommending that the U.S., along with other states with missions in Kyiv, ensure the evacuation of their diplomatic personnel and other citizens from the Ukrainian capital in anticipation of the impending campaign of systematic strikes. So Iran's clearing us out in the Middle East, and Russia's clearing us out in Eastern Europe. Go home, America. The empire is over. Message number 3, the Anchorage agreements are being undermined. Lavrov reminded Rubio of the agreements reached at the highest level at the suggestion of the U.S. in Anchorage in August of 25 regarding the Ukrainian conflict, and expressed regret that the high-handed efforts of the European elites and the Kiev regime are undermining these agreements, which Moscow says paved the way for a sustainable long-term settlement based on balance of interests. This is Russia's formal notification to Washington that it holds European capitals and Kyiv, not Moscow, responsible for the collapse of the Anchorage framework. Speaking of bear, there you go. Look at that, the Russian bear. Some have asked, why has Russia waited 4 years to do this? I think there are 2 reasons. First, I believe that Russia has intelligence, assets, and all of the key Ukrainian military and intelligence units in Kyiv, and did not want to risk killing them or exposing them by attacking those sites without warning. That's interesting. Second, Russia wanted to avoid killing U.S. and other NATO military and intelligence personnel who were working alongside Ukrainian counterparts to avoid provoking a military confrontation with the West. As I understand it, it's, according to the Geneva Conventions and according to international law, that Russia notify other countries and give them an evacuation interim warning that to give them time to vacate their assets. That's just customary with international law. So it's like Russia's just following international law here. In light of the terrorist attack on the children at the school in Luhansk, and faced with the reality that this attack was facilitated by Western intelligence and technology, of course, Russia has reached the limit of its patience and is going to put an end to Ukraine's ability to carry out further terrorist attacks, even if it means killing U.S. and European personnel. They have been warned. Russia is giving them time to withdraw. Any who remain in place are likely to die. That was the essence of Lavrov's message to Rubio. So another thing Scott Ritter said in the podcast today on Judge Napolitano's channel was that he expects by tonight, maybe it could even be happening now because, Russia's like 8 hours ahead of the Western Hemisphere, that they will be attacking Kyiv. And if it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be within a number of hours, basically. So that's what we can expect, I think, out of Ukraine in the coming days, coming hours. Garland Nixon hosted a special. Okay, so I think that's the end of his article. And that's pretty good. Okay, moving on. Let's go to the Discord, see what's been posted here. We got a Thugbone track here. Let's play it. Palestinian Struggle. Let's go. Palate cleanser. Thank you, Thugbone, for the palate cleanser. Thugbone's an Ableton aficionado.
The Palestinian struggle.
Malcolm X. beat drops.
The Palestinian
Let's
struggle
go.
is not just a cry for justice. It's a blistering battle for the most fundamental human rights that every living soul on this planet should inherit by birthright. It's an unyielding resistance against the oppressive, suffocating grip of occupation and the callous denial of the most basic human dignity. Just as the civil rights movement in the United States fought against the chains of racial discrimination, so too do the Palestinian people strive to shatter the chains of occupation and tyranny.
Where are we? Oh! It's like a roller coaster. Hey, JFK, have you ever considered maybe it's not too fast, you're just too slow? You cannot contain this. Yeah, it is kind of like Prodigy, huh? I am the fire starter. I wonder what Thugbone's using for his bass. He's got splice. He's got a Reese bass.
The civil rights movement in the United States fought against the chains of racial discrimination. So too do the Palestinian
motherfuckers
people
grouping
strive to
sounds
shatter the
together.
chains of occupation and tyranny.
This is
Never
sophisticated.
forget, my friends.
This is Marxist music. What is this commie shit? Break it down now.
The birth of Israel in 1948 brought forth the mass expulsion and dispossession of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their ancestral homes and lands. This is a historic injustice that continues to haunt the lives of Palestinians to this very day. The situation in Palestine serves as a brutal reminder of the consequences of colonialism and the ruthless dispossession of indigenous people. It is an agonizing reminder that the fight for justice knows no borders, and we must stand united in solidarity with all oppressed peoples, whether they reside in the United States, South Africa, or anywhere around the world.
Whoa. No, and the bass? Oh shit, that's my favorite.
Let's be unequivocally clear. The fight for justice in Palestine is not an assault on any particular group, but an unwavering stand against the
I like it when Thugbone make the beat go.
policies of a Zionist state. A Zionist state that has for far too long stripped Palestinians of their rights.
Thugbone, you should be ashamed of yourself, okay? Trying to play that commie shit on my stream. Are you crazy? What are you trying to do? Get the FBI called on me? That's fucked up, man.
FBI, open up!
You see? Just a second.
FBI, open up!
I heard you the first time. Oh my god. Stop it. Fucking shit. Oh, you want me to be nice when literally Thugbone gets the FBI call? He gets me swatted. And I'm supposed to be nice to Thugbone now? It's fucked up. I'm the asshole? Look what he did to me. This guy says, "You be nice. Why are you so mean?" Look, not everybody gets my sense of humor, and that's fine, okay? I've got a dry sense of humor. I'm actually very nice, very kind. And that's what you don't realize. I'm very extremely likable.
This Lebanese city has resisted Israeli.
By the way, y'all follow Thugbone. He's got a new YouTube page. What is it? It's just Thugbone. Look, he needs your likes. He needs your loves. I wish I could copy the link, but I can't in this chat box. But it's Thugbone at YouTube. Follow that motherfucker.
Occupation for decades. Israel has bombed it countless times and is now trying to force out its entire population. Here's why you should know about Nabatea, a centuries-old city that has risen from destruction again and again and again. This is Nabatea's famous Monday market in 1952, believed to be one of the oldest and largest weekly markets in
Wow, dude, you don't like me anymore? What happened? Where did our love go? Was it something I said? Is it because I blew out your mom's back? Be honest with me. You can tell me.
In Lebanon, the souk has roots to the late Mamluk era and continued under Ottoman rule.
I told you I was going to pay for her hip replacement surgery. What do you want from me?
For centuries, it was a crossroads for people traveling across Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon to buy things like food, fabrics, tobacco, and livestock. The city also became known as a major center of Shia religious life in Lebanon, hosting massive Ashura commemorations that filled the streets generation after generation. This is Nabatea in 1974, after an Israeli...
She's her own woman, JFK. She can make her own decisions. Okay? She's literally 87 years old. I think, you know, at this point, she's my grandma too.
Strike, one of many throughout the 1970s. During Israel's first large-scale invasion of Lebanon in 1978, much of the city was left devastated by Israeli bombardment. Over the years, Nabatea had become a hub for uprisings against French colonization. And it was Nabatea and its market and its Ashura celebrations that became a focal point for uprisings against the Israeli occupation in the 80s. Even after Israel's withdrawal in 1985, Nabatea continued to face repeated Israeli shelling and airstrikes throughout the 1990s and 2000s. By late 2024, much of the city's buildings were damaged or destroyed, and its market was reduced to rubble. Some Lebanese people accuse Israel of intentionally bombing the market to eradicate the city's history and place in Lebanon's social fabric. But despite decades of destruction, residents have tried to rebuild Nabatea again and again, with grassroots cleanup efforts and NGOs trying to bridge gaps in government support due to the financial crisis. Last year, they even somewhat revived the historic Monday market. But on May 26, Israel ordered the city's remaining population to leave, saying it will accelerate its bombing campaign in the south. Israel's relentless strikes are wiping out many other towns and villages across southern Lebanon, killing residents and forcing many others out. But still,
what an international catastrophe this fucking state has been, this project, this national project. God. It's like, I don't think the Jays have proven themselves capable of self-determining, okay? I don't think they should get their right to their own state. Sorry. You've violated the social contract. You have your statehood revoked. States that commit genocide, you know, must have their statehood revoked. There's no place for this.
Keep returning to rebuild towns like Nabatea to keep their story.
Forfeit, that's right. Revoke, forfeit. Forfeit's a good word.
And Lebanon's heritage alive.
And I love when they're like, don't you believe the Jews have the right to self-determine? I'm like, no. That's the point. They don't. Who said that? Do Scientologists have the right to self-determine? No. Does any cult have the right to self-determine? I mean, is it okay if we have a Scientology lobby? Lobbying the government? Is that okay? Would everybody be okay with that?
But I should point out, all these guys are tough, but 2-3 months ago, the Black Panthers of New Jersey showed up. They got in their face. Some of the Black Panthers of New Jersey had guns on them, verbally threatened them, and boy, did those ICE agents move back really quick. So
Apparently
when the
this is
Black
live.
Panthers of New Jersey, I interviewed one of the heads of the Black Panthers of New Jersey, the new African Party. I interviewed him after ICE caused
I don't know where this is. It says Delaney Hall. Does anybody know where that is?
a very dangerous car crash in the middle of Newark a couple months ago in the winter, right near schools. Thankfully, no children were hurt. The video shows that they got, oh boy, did those ICE agents back up when the Black Panthers showed up. So.
I need more context for that. It's a live video, though. Trump becomes Abraham Accords salesman. Let's see.
People are
what this
posting this to troll Trump. It's basically Trump and Netanyahu trying to get the
Oh,
Gulf
my
states to
Lord.
sign off on the Abraham Accords.
is. Why is Netanyahu so tiny? Hey, thank you, Benjamin. I appreciate that. Super.
What is that?
What is that?
Subscribe for more.
Oops.
People are posting this.
Subscribe for more. I don't think I want to do that. Let's see what this is. This is real. They're like, no, it's a drone. No, it's actually not a drone. It was just a kid playing with a little toy truck. Oh my goodness, they're living. This is like another hologram. Oh, hilarity ensues. Uh-oh. Now they realize the moment of truth. Wow, that was great. That was really good. All the kvetching. Yeah. Thank you, Jay Waz. Eid Mubaraka. I can't say that shit. Fuck. I'm sorry. I fucked that up. Thank you for your donation. Let's move on. Thank you. Here we go. Let's see. Ex-CIA analyst Larry Johnson, most difficult item on U.S.-Iran talks. Let's see.
Zionist control over Donald Trump is too great to overcome any of
Can't really hear that. Can you?
normally considered reasonable concessions on the part of the United States. You know, I think Iran is pretty.
Dude, how are you supposed to look at this? How am I supposed to turn up the volume? As soon as I go to turn it up, it's like, what the fuck? That's annoying.
That number one, the Zionist control over Donald Trump is too great to overcome any of what would be normally considered reasonable concessions on the part of the United States.
Thanks, Big Ronnie. I'm very grateful to this community. I know. I can't believe we made it to 100K. Let's keep it going. Thanks for the congratulations.
You know, I think Iran is pretty firm in its position that number one, the sanctions have to be lifted. Not some promise in the future. Not if you behave yourself, we'll lift the sanctions eventually. No, Iran's been down that road before. They experienced that with JCPOA, and what they got out of that was nothing. So get rid of the sanctions up front. Number one. Number two, unfreeze frozen assets. Now there are some I'll call it procedural and technical difficulties with this. Those
I know this. It's really low volume.
That are the result of executive action in the past. You know, say executive order signed by a previous president, whether it's George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Trump can lift that. If it was the act of Congress, then that's a whole different matter.
And so that, I could see where that might become an issue for negotiation. But those assets that are under the authority or control of the president need to be released immediately. But I think the third and most difficult item on the agenda will be an end to the war against the Lebanese and the Palestinian people. And that requires the United States being willing to completely pull the plug on support for the Zionist regime. I don't think Donald Trump will do that.
Kind of stuff we already know, but let's keep going. Here's the next link on the Discord. I know, all these clips have such low volume. Let's see, is this the latest from Mahmoud?
Now Israel is looking to change the status quo of Al-Aqsa Mosque in full coordination with the United States, remove the custodianship of Jordan that has...
You're getting out of hand, JFK, okay?
Custodianship over Al-Aqsa and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, in essence, the key Islamic and Christian locations in Jerusalem, by, according to what they're telling us now, switching it from like a Muslim location to a multi-faith location. And listen to the terminology, like a multi-faith location, right? Open to all religions. You'd think to yourself, if you're sitting there and everything is normal, yeah, multi-faith, everyone visits, we share things and whatever. How beautiful is that, you'll think. The reality on the ground is where we have an illegal, brutal occupation.
Thank you, Wagner. I hope I said that right. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm very excited about the growth of this channel and the growth of this community. And I want to thank everyone for giving me a purpose each day, each night. I take it very seriously, trying to deliver informed content, and I'm happy that it's having an effect, honestly. So thank you. Yeah, I know they talk about it destroying the Al-Aqsa. I'm honestly surprised they haven't done it yet.
If you're worried about saving for retirement, watch this clip carefully.
My own view is that it's not going to end well. And some of these new structures may not be liquid when things go wrong and they need the money.
That's Josh Harris, a private equity billionaire, warning you about a rule change his own industry just pushed for and is on the brink of winning.
But I fear that people don't really understand the risk.
Harris is talking about the Trump administration's plan to crack open the trillions sitting in American retirement accounts to private equity, private credit, and crypto. Savers don't want this. In fact, some of the financial industry doesn't either. One hedge fund manager told journalist Bethany McLean, "When I see them going after 401ks, we know it's over, and they're going after 401ks. So why is it happening? Because private equity is in trouble. To understand why, you have to know the basics of how private equity works.
Please tell us what yes, let's get to the basics of private equity. One of the great evils in our society.
Money, they buy companies, they restructure the companies and sell them for a profit. Take a fee that's often pretty high and pay everyone back with what's left over. That payout's called a distribution. Right now, distributions are running at half of normal times. A big reason is that PE firms overpaid for companies during the boom, and selling now means taking a loss. This year, Bain estimates that the industry is sitting on 32,000 unsold companies. That money is stuck. Even in good times, private equity locks your money up for years. You can't pull it out on demand. The people who used to fund it, like with Harvard and Yale's endowments, are walking away, which means the industry needs a new pool of money. That is where your retirement savings come in. 401ks have been so far off limits to private equity. The rules say your employer picks what you can invest in, and you can sue them for bad options. Trump's proposed rule changes that. If an investment into private equity or credit goes bad, your employer won't be held responsible as long as they follow a process. But you will lose out. It gets worse. Morningstar, a firm millions of investors use to rate funds, says it's not even sure how to evaluate these new investments. Unlike public companies, they're opaque. The private equity industry and its sister industry, private credit, have wanted this for years, and they couldn't get it. Luckily for them, the crypto industry was running into the same problem. People aren't flocking to crypto like they used to.
Bitcoin has plummeted it's down 13% just today. So it has dropped from 109,000 to 63,500.
Together, they lobbied the president with significant crypto holdings.
The cryptocurrency market is a rug pull?
And now they're on the cusp of getting access to 401ks, but they're not over the finish line yet. The rule isn't final. There's a public comment period before it takes effect. Go to the link in our bio to tell the administration what you think.
Man, I just think about George Carlin in the 90s talking about this. When he leans into his audience, he's like, they're coming for your retirement money. They've got it all and they're not satisfied. They want your retirement money. Finkeldink lecturing the Columbia University student who came out for 30 minutes on how he disagrees with their slogans. 30 minutes? You send me a 30-minute link.
I don't make any claim to infallibility. I'm simply stating, based on my long experience in politics, I don't agree with the slogan, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Oh my God, who gives a
It's
shit?
very easy to amend and just say, from the river to the sea, Palestinians will be free. And that simple amendment
That is so dumb, man. You're tone policing the rhetoric of the resistance when you should be joining the resistance, being allowed. I mean, he has been a loud voice in the resistance, but now he's like turning around and speaking to his peers and say, you know, you really shouldn't say it like this. You should say it like that. And, you know, we've got to be really careful about how we protect Jewish feelings. You don't want to offend the Jews, please. Please don't. Have you considered how they feel about your words?
amendment.
I just reject all this shit, especially as a satirist. I feel like that's my job to go there because of the preciousness, which is really just a veil. It's a veil to commit more crimes. And we have to be iconoclastical. We have to smash the preconceived, taboo, stereotypical things we can't talk about. I mean, to show people that it's more important things to be concerned with. And people can say words, people can think what they want. I personally don't, I think that as a human being, you're allowed to think whatever you want. It can be racist, it can be misogynistic, it can be sexist, it can be whatever. The problem arises when people organize around that ideology, when they take on other identities and they have that ideology at their root, and they lobby the government, they accrue political power, like I say. And I think I disagree. I don't think that not every ideology needs to have organizational powers. But people are allowed to think whatever they want. I mean, it's not illegal to be racist. Not that I agree with it. I mean, I don't, but I'm against these kinds of supremacist ideologies gaining a foothold in our government.
You drastically reduce the possibility of being manipulatively misunderstood. But when I was hearing that this slogan causes pain, anguish,
whose pain?
Fear,
whose anguish? Whose fear?
I have to ask myself a simple question. What does the slogan, "We support the IDF," what does that convey?
Yeah, well, now you're getting...
The IDF right now,
you're warming
Israeli
up.
Defense Forces, it is a genocidal army. Why are you allowed to have public support for a genocide, at this moment, a genocidal state and a genocidal army? Okay, the language doesn't seem as provocative. We support the IDF. But the content is 10,000 times more.
I think I was trying to make a distinction between rhetoric and actions. I think rhetoric is one thing. I think actions are another. That's all. And this is a broad stroke. I'm sure you can needle it to death and I'm just saying as a rule. And there are exceptions.
Şimdi şöyle söyleyeyim. Ateş ettiklerini anlasak buna dünya inanmazdı, zaten inanmıyorlar.
I don't know what the hell this is. The guy's not even speaking my language. What do I care? Okay? What do I care about that? It's
oh
too
my
much.
God, Jimmy Kimmel just made a pharmaceutical ad for Trump, and I cannot stop laughing.
Nobody said getting older was easy. You're struggling to stay awake. Your memory is fading.
Our great First Lady, who's here someplace. Let's see. I think this is our First Lady.
Literally right next to you?
Your dear lifelong friends are dead. And no matter what you do,
allegedly,
just can't get your pull up. It's time to make yourself great again with Resign.
Resign.
Go back to doing the things you love. No more intelligence briefings, questions about the
I
world.
learned today that Donald Trump, when he was not president, he was talking about all the blunders in the Middle East. He said something like, if we had just, you know, if George W. Bush had just decided to just go to the beach and not do anything, the world would be so much better. He didn't have to start this war. It's like, I can't believe he said that. And then look at where we're at now.
Started, or shaking hands with the French.
Why doesn't Donald Trump just retire? Just go to the beach. Go to Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump.
Resign will lift the weight of the world off your cankles so you can grab life by the again. Ask your conscience if Resign is right for you. Side effects include spontaneous celebrations, loss of ballroom, and firm global erections that will last for years to come. Get your life back and give us ours with Resign.
I'm JD Vance, and I approve this message.
JD Banks approves this message. Oh my
God, the Norlander has spoken.
What do you think in the comments? If you
Let me know what you think in the comments, please. I really want to hear what you think in the comments. I want to drive up engagement on my funny little video. Please, please.
What you're seeing here is Nazi Deutschland 2.0. The grandfathers did the same thing against Jews and leftists. Now it's against Muslims and leftists. Nothing changes in Germany.
Nothing changes in Germany. We saw that video already. Okay, Eldridge. You little slut. He's got a whole array of bumper stickers. He's like, which one is appropriate here? That's awesome. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrives in New Delhi and asks, where is everyone? At the airport, he was only greeted by the commander of his own plane. Oh, that's sad. Sad Rubio. What a sad Rube. And not a single Indian government official came to meet him. Damn, that's tough, dude. Nobody's there. But he's so well loved. There's a 15-year-old sea merchant. Merchant Marines. Literally no one's there. Oh, there's Chad. There's your Mossad handler. Right this way, sir. No pageantry. What is that, a Mercedes? That's pathetic.
No. I immediately do not like this woman.
Oh my God.
I don't know what it is.
That? What is that? Housecast goes to Israel 2012. What am I looking at? That's gross, man. What is that? Don't show me that. Gato, what you doing to me, man? God damn.
Why?
Were they trying to tame an Israeli right there? RFK Jr. gets bit by a snake. It's hilarious. Ah, you idiot! You fucking idiot!
What are they?
Ah! He bit you.
Well, they're
You
having
bitch.
sex, Sean. So what were they?
Bite him. Bite him in the dick. Grab him by the pussy. Come on, snake. Do it! Yes. Nice.
Are they biting?
He bit you. Get him.
Jesus,
That's anti-Semitic.
The mouths are huge.
Damn. The only thing good about that clip was, I mean, obviously him getting bit by a snake was kind of funny, but also the beach. Gosh, I miss the beach.
What's a woman?
Your mom.
See, you can't even answer that, dude.
That's an answer. Your mom is a woman, isn't she?
What is the female anatomy of a woman?
Your mom.
Perfect
It's still
answers.
like, dude, you're not even fucking answering this shit.
I'm giving you an answer. Do you know what your mom is? Is your mom a woman?
Tu mamá. Sí, también.
Hey y'all, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ariel Amazor, and I'm the new IDF International spokesperson.
Why do they all look like this?
Hey y'all, I'm Will, and I just want to make genocide look real cool and inclusive. That's what y'all look like. As a y'all sayer.
He said y'all, or they said y'all, what?
Hey y'all, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ariel Amazor.
Hey y'all. That southern drawl, I say y'all. People that are indigenous to the Middle East say y'all? I had no idea.
And I'm the new IDF International spokesperson.
Hey y'all, I'm Will, and I just want to make genocide look real cool and inclusive. That's what y'all look like. As a y'all sayer, you opening this with y'all when you're introducing the next Goebbels is mind-boggling. And then you go on to do this to just try and humanize it.
What made you want to serve in this role? Ooh.
Well, I love that you asked. I just wasn't doing enough genocide on the front lines.
Coffee or tea? Coffee and a lot of it.
Oh, that's what I like to know about my war criminals.
Yeah.
They're beverages of choice.
See, they're
I'm
she just like me, for real, for real.
sure the Hague will take that into accommodation. But this is a
But sir, she liked coffee. She liked to drink a lot of coffee.
excellent piece of propaganda. And this is something you'll notice about the IDF very often, which is in their propaganda, they make sure that their military members are wearing the outfit. And that is because if you know that people that wear that outfit are mothers or like tea or are a little silly, and then you see videos of the people in those outfits doing war crimes, typically anonymized or kind of looking the same because it's, you know, rushed photography, then you are more sympathetic to that. Whereas they will never, ever, ever do anything even vaguely humanizing to anyone in any other military outfit, maybe the U.S. Department of Defense. And
that guy's a lot to contend with, I have to say. He's too
whatever
much.
happens next,
He's
whether
too
we
much.
attack or we do not attack, whether we try to leave and say we were successful or not, I think we Americans are finished in the Middle East. And I think that's the greatest concern that Mr. Netanyahu has right now. If we cannot break Iran's grip on the Persian Gulf, if we cannot force our way back into the Persian Gulf, and I think it's pretty clear that we cannot, that means that we are finished in the region. We will not come back into these bases. There will be nothing to rebuild. It will be a decade before the countries that existed there even recover, if some of them ever recover at all. Because frankly, in that part of the world, there just isn't enough water to support much development. So I think that's the greatest single problem. Not so much for us. And let's be frank. I would argue that we should have withdrawn from most of the overseas bases a long time ago. And I've been giving briefings to war college classes, to Army audiences, to any audience that would listen for the last 15 plus years, that the whole notion of forward military presence is finished.
Boom. Dems to facts.
It's not okay
I gotta
to
pee
join
so
the
bad.
military.
Here, wait. Let me put on Al Jazeera real quick, and we'll give your boy a chance to go to the bathroom, if you don't mind. And we got some crazy developments happening. Let's see if there's any updates. Nope. Seems like just a commercial. Eid Mubarak. That's happening now, folks. Let's see, that's from 20 hours ago. I need some fresh updates. Let's go back. Hajj 2026. Look at that.
أكثر الناس لا يشكرون وقاتلوا في سبيل الله واعلموا
I'm just gonna put on this John Mearsheimer from earlier today. I'll be right back, okay?
Undeclared wars.
Don't go nowhere.
commonplace.
Tap that like.
To a general conversation
And let me know what you think in the comments. All right,
about
I'll be back.
the neocons and a dynamite clip from the debate that you and Professor Walt had with Mrs. Newland and Secretary Pompeo. Did the United States just resume attacking Iranian military assets, in this case, speedboats?
Yes, they did. It's really hard to figure out what's going on here. If you think about it, when we got together last Tuesday, the 19th, I thought we were going to talk about the war restarting, the air campaign beginning again, because that's what Trump had promised on the 18th, last Monday. But instead, he said on the 19th, when we got together, that peace negotiations had started again, and he had been convinced not to start the bombing campaign. Then on Friday, he announced that he wasn't going to his son's wedding, and it looked like the bombing campaign was going to start over this past weekend, over Memorial Day weekend. But then on Saturday and Sunday, word came out that they were close to an agreement. And you started saying to yourself, oh, here we go. We're going to get an agreement now. And then yesterday, Monday, we're bombing targets in Iran again. It's hard to make sense of where we're going on this roller coaster ride.
The Iranian negotiators are apparently in Doha trying to work out some kind of a deal there. And within hours of their arrival is when the U.S. attacked these speedboats, supposedly it said, for self-defense. Is there a ceasefire or isn't there? Are there negotiations or aren't there? This is truly unorthodox. In fact, calling it unorthodox is being charitable. It's crazy.
Well, the whole, just talk about the negotiating process. First of all, it appears that on our side, we have one person and one person only who's involved in this process. And that person is President Trump, who constantly is talking about this aspect of the deal or that aspect of the deal. And he's sort of making things up as he goes along. He's changing his mind from day to day. This is just no way to conduct a negotiation. This is something that should be done in private. There should be professional teams on both.
Okay, I'm back, and I was watching your every move. Okay, I know everything that you're doing at all times. So, just keep that in mind next time you want to fucking slack off in my classroom, all right?
Sides instead of on just one side. And they ought to try to work out the differences so that we can shut this war down. But if you listen to what a lot of what President Trump says and then what the Iranians follow up with, it's quite clear that many of the points that President Trump is making, many of the points he's making are at odds with what is the Iranian position. And there is no way they would accept Trump's various demands. It's a rather bizarre process, and it's hard to see how it leads to a meaningful deal.
Well, also over the weekend was a massive attack on governmental buildings in Kyiv. An Oreshnik was used, although according to Alistair, the Oreshnik was not used on those buildings so that it wouldn't kill civilians. It was used on other assets on the outskirts of Kyiv. But all of this taken together, is Putin taking the gloves off? What is the significance of an attack of this magnitude?
Well, it's quite significant. It's quite significant because it does appear he's taking the gloves off. And the Russians have made it clear that the United States and other countries should get their diplomats out of Kyiv, because that was just the first of what will be a string of attacks on Kyiv. It looks like he's going to really pound the infrastructure in Kyiv in serious ways that have not been done before. And I think this does reflect the fact he's taking the gloves off.
And do you expect a European response? I don't mean verbally, I mean militarily.
No, I think what the Europeans will do is they will try to increase the number and the quality of the drones that they give to Ukraine, and go to considerable lengths to facilitate more Ukrainian attacks on Russia with those drones. I mean, I think what has in good part prompted this attack by the Russians on Kyiv and the threat of more attacks on Kyiv is the fact that the Ukrainians have been launching more and more drone attacks on the Russians, and the Russians are reaching a point where they believe they've just had enough and it's time to retaliate and do everything they can to put an end to this.
So is the possession of nuclear weapons a deterrent? Because it doesn't seem to scare the Ukrainians at all.
No, it doesn't. I mean, the fact is that for a long time now, the Ukrainians have felt free to attack the Russian homeland with missiles and with drones. And you want to remember that in August of 2024, Ukraine actually invaded Mother Russia. This is quite remarkable. And that invasion was done with help from the British and from the Americans.
Is that when they took that little landlocked province, Kaliningrad? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
or, he's talking about Kursk.
Kursk. This was the Kursk offensive.
Right. And it took the Russians a while to get them out.
It did. It took them a good couple months to push them out, which they eventually did. But the mere fact that Ukraine invaded Russian territory is quite remarkable. And the fact that they did it with assistance from the British and the Americans is even more remarkable. As I've said on numerous occasions, we would have never thought about doing this during the Cold War. And then furthermore, the Ukrainians actually attacked, again with British and American help, one leg of the strategic nuclear triad of the Russian inventory. They went after the bomber leg of the triad. And this was, again, unthinkable during the Cold War. And it just went to show that the Russian nuclear deterrent wasn't really deterring Ukraine from attacking Russian assets on Russian soil, to include invading Russia. And there's been tremendous pressure on on Putin to do something about this for a long time now. But Putin has been very reluctant to up the ante. But it appears that he's now decided that something has to be done. And I think the bombing of Kyiv is the first step in that direction.
Well, this is asking you to...
Guys, I didn't realize this, but I have a Facebook page. And it's actually kind of blowing up. I mean, I hate to humble brag, but so I share, I share these the YouTube shorts or the Instagram reels, whatever. And every time I share it to Instagram, I had no idea that it was being shared to a Facebook page that I've had, but went defunct. I have it, but I never posted to it. But because Instagram and Facebook are owned by Meta, it automatically posts all of my reels to Facebook as well. And I've been just crushing it on Facebook. I mean, I had no idea, but I have 17,000 followers on my Facebook page. I can't believe that. And I've just been getting glowing reviews by people that just love my content. Let's take a look at some of them here. Danny Holland writes that she doesn't recommend Rathbone. She says, "Ooh, who the fuck wants to watch this cringe lord?" I thought that was really nice. Might have been the nicest thing somebody's ever said about me, in fact. Some people feel differently. David Hansen says, "I appreciate the funny way he tells a not-so-funny truth. Don't ever let them stop you. #respect." Alamir Shabazz says, "Great page. I love its content." Irvin Sippis does not recommend Rathbone. He says, "Just another hack selling his soul." It's true. It's true. I sold my soul. I was like, I really want to be anti-genocide, but how am I going to go about this? And that's when I knew I've got to sell my soul. Okay, so, 2 bad reviews out of, I don't know, a few. Out of like 15. That's not too bad. 90% of people that write reviews on my page like me. Okay? So if you want to help out, I encourage you to, find the page. I can't share it with you because I can't paste links, but write me a review. Tell me how wonderful or how bad I am. I'd be happy to hear what you think. But people have been liking the reels I've been sharing on there. It's funny because I had no idea. People are just writing messages to me into the void. I had no idea this was happening. I want to. People DM me on Facebook, and I'm trying to find, where do we go for the comments? These are funny. Is it here? Okay, I have no idea what you're about to see. So, oh, here it is. Yeah. This guy says, "You have so many hateful videos about Jews. Wow. Why?" I don't want to give him the, I don't want to dignify what he's saying with a response, but I kind of do. I want to say, because you cry. But this one is kind of my favorite. This guy, Jonathan Zabulani, last Tuesday, May 19th, he wrote, "Asshole." And then a week later, he comes in at 5:36 this morning. He follows up with "major asshole." So I was an asshole last Tuesday. Now I've upped the ante. I'm now a major asshole this Tuesday. Next Tuesday, who knows? I might be a major, major asshole. I look forward to his weekly comment. See you next Tuesday. Literally, see you next Tuesday? What a cunt. Now, some people, I also get, it's funny because I get, it's one extreme to the other. It's like, "I fucking love your content. You're great, man. Hilarious, awesome, blah, blah." And then, I get these comments like, "You anti-Semite asshole." It's one or the other. Some people say amazing. Some people say, "Thanks for your channel. You're the most lucid American I've heard on the web. Ciao from Rome, Italy." And then we got Eric Owertsky, who says, "We laugh at your looks. We're just laughing at your looks over here. We're having a gay old time. As I cope and brood and seethe and hate watch you, and I laugh." "Hey, I've been listening to your videos and I've learned a lot while laughing." Thank you. I learned a lot while laughing. Just want to say thanks. Also weird, but would like to have a platonic lunch with you, says some dude. Apparently, this is Angry Goy. Thanks for everything. I think I know you, Angry Goy. He's on the YouTube stream. I feel like I see that name from time to time. Angry Goy, yeah. Says, this is Angry Goy. Thank you for everything. You are awesome. Jeffrey Scheinstein. Jeffrey Shine says, you're an idiot. That's not what chosen means. Okay. Again, this was like months ago. This was in January. He wrote that. I never saw it until today. I'm just opening these up right now as we speak, okay? Haven't looked at these. Here it is. Let's see what I'm saying. You're an amazing person, says Muhammad. And then it's like all the Muhammads love me. All the Avis think I'm a fucking moron. Avi Cooper. Thank you. You are a fucking moron. He wrote that back in November 29th, 2025. I just want to say, Avi, if you're listening, I finally received your message. And I appreciate that. And I just hope that you've tried crying about it is all. Because once you let the tears out, it helps, man. That's therapy. You tend to cope better at this. Okay, so that's. I mean, there's some more, but it seems like some of them are just sending me videos. This guy wishes me a happy new year. Anyway, if you're on Facebook, follow me there. And, if you want to give me some hateful comments, that's fine too. Whatever. Whatever floats your boat. I'm here for you, okay? And now it says I have to verify my account. They always do this. It's like solving the Hellraiser puzzle. Trying to just log back into my accounts. I had another commenter on YouTube. Saw one of my shorts that I recently released. Should we watch it? There was one of them that was like, his name was Yossi Cohen. He was like, oh no, I just reported you, they said. Your hate is not welcome here.
They're genociding me with stereotypes.
And this is what he was butthurt about.
No. I'm being exterminated with whites.
No.
I'm not done kvetching.
Don't.
You know I got a tiny hat.
No.
But they believe they're entitled to 72 virgins. Goyim?
Please?
But we're the fucking Jews.
No.
I always find it funny when they talk about the 72 virgins, like can you believe they think that they're entitled to 72 virgins when they die? That's why we need to martyr them. Remind me, what does the Talmud say that the Jews are entitled to? Oh, that's right. Everything under the sun, the entire world. They've created a whole underclass of everyone. They call them Goyim. And we're supposed to pearl clutch about 72 virgins in heaven.
Go low, we go, Machayim.
Don't.
My mother was a lampshade.
No.
My daddy's a bar of soap.
No.
But the foreskin salad was promised to me 3,000 years ago.
No.
And Israel cried.
No.
But I never took my pants off.
No.
It's the most democratic genocide in human history.
No.
I survived Auschwitz.
No.
But this is like another cowabunga.
No.
But murder was the case that Paul gave me. They're genociding me with
I mean, that was the tame version. I actually censored myself quite a bit in that sketch. It's actually longer than that. I had to cut it off. That's a little foreskin humor for you. Had to cut it off. Get it? Okay, sorry.
Where are those
Where are those
beheaded
like
babies
it,
at? You want to see them?
Well, I mean, I'd like some proof that it happened. Me telling you about it is the proof. I don't think so. I'm gonna need to know more about them. We don't have any information. We're still conducting an investigation. It was almost a year and a half ago. Where are these beheaded babies? You don't understand. They were mysterious. How many of them? Exactly 40. And their names? The babies were so fresh they didn't have names yet. Okay, you don't know their names, but certainly you must have identified the parents. We don't have the technology to do that. Oh, you absolutely do. Now, where are the bodies? With Jesus. Where? In heaven with King David.
I should have amended that because they don't believe that Jesus is in heaven, so.
You don't have pictures? Oh my God, curb your anti-Semitism, please. Look, you claimed it. We need to see some evidence. Okay, fine. You want to see some evidence? Yeah. Here you go. You happy now, you sicko? Look at it. Look at it! That's an AI-generated picture! No, it's real! Look at the fingers! What? Also, that's a charred lump of coal, not a beheaded baby. Okay, but why are you yelling? Beheaded babies! Proof! I need to see it! Fine, pervert! Beheaded babies! Now, are you happy? Oh my God. Okay, fine! Here it is! That's a picture of Elon Musk and Netanyahu looking at what appears to be a crib. Full of beheaded babies! Where are the 40 beheaded babies? Right here! Oh my God, those are beheaded Barbies. And there's not 40 of them, there's like 8. 8 times 5 is 40! Jesus Christ. We will dance again!
So they're trying to report me for this. I mean, what is so... I'm just showing you, because I'm reading these comments, and people think that it's just... They're coming after your boy.
Let's talk about something super important in this moment. The pro-Palestine sentiment and goodwill that has been caused as a result of the Israeli genocide in Gaza is being funneled into initiatives that will not result in anything for Palestine very intentionally. I want to tell you how they turn you Zionist. How it doesn't matter what your purported beliefs are. It doesn't even matter if your bedroom is covered in Palestine paraphernalia, if in the end they get you supporting Zionists in your actions, okay? There is an initiative in the Democratic Party right now to funnel anti-Zionist energy into the party so that it can dissipate and to get you supporting Zionists with the justification that they're better than the alternative. Now, if you ask yourself, is there a single American politician who denounces the existence of Israel, out of the ones who are recently running, for example, is there a single politician who says Israel does not have a right to exist, I want Israel to be abolished? It's all Palestine. Think about the politicians who are supported by purported anti-Zionists right now in the US, like Hassan Piker. I'm using him as an example here.
Two-state solutionists.
I know it's tiring, but he's one of the biggest supposedly radical left-wing influences, supposedly pro-Palestine influences in the US. Who does he support? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, open Zionist, supports the existence of Israel. Bernie Sanders, way more of a Zionist than AOC, and she's already a big Zionist. Karaboughazadeh, who is a Palestinian, by the way, ridiculous. She was a Zionist as well. She openly supported the existence of Israel. Zoran Mamdani used to be an anti-Zionist. Now, you could not get him to say something frankly anti-Zionist. They've caught him.
Because if you don't say and think and believe and promote the ideas of the ruling class, the Epstein regime, you are funneled out of the movement. It's this far but no further, and people that are politically sophisticated or politically adept, they understand the line that you can't cross if you want to have mass appeal, if you want to have mainstream appeal. So you got to play within the boundaries that they set. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for continuing the prolongment of the misery and poverty of the domestic population in the United States and around the world. I mean, this is a preservation of the status quo ultimately. And that's why we don't play that game. We don't. I mean, I have no stake in this system, guys. I'm only here to speak objectively about the truth, and I'm not bought by these entities, these institutions. So there's no real motive for me to lie to people and try to sheepdog them back into an option that I already know is illegitimate. It's not going to take us anywhere.
Got him in under their spell. They've got him in their web. He's now a tool for Zionism. Think about like Hassan's enthusiastic supporter Brad Lander, for example. Brad Lander is running again, and it's very good. This is a short on Hassan Abi's channel.
Good morning. Great to see you.
Brad Lander is running.
His favorite, Bad Empanada's favorite content is to make anti-Hassan videos.
This community means everything to me.
I'm not going to be sold on Brad, but if he wins, I don't care too much. I like Brad Lander. Like I said before, in the absence of Zohran Mamdani in that crowded primary for New York mayor, I would have probably gravitated towards him.
Okay.
It's too much of a reaction to like the prevailing thing, you're as soon as you start playing that game, I think you're cooked.
So this is, I think, the most explicit and obvious endorsement of a Zionist that I've seen from these types.
I kind of like this vetted, hand-picked candidate by the Epstein regime over this other hand-picked, vetted candidate by the Epstein regime.
Brad Lander was the New York City comptroller, and he invested public funds in New York City into Elbit Systems. Under Brad Lander's tenure as the New York City comptroller, that's the guy who's responsible for investing like pension funds and such, choosing where they go. He increased investment in the Israeli arms company Elbit Systems during the Gaza genocide. He invested millions upon millions of dollars in Israeli weapons companies and in many other Israeli companies that aren't weapons companies. And he is also, as this article notes, a self-described liberal Zionist. Brad Lander is someone who has openly said he is trying to neuter anti-Zionism by creating a coalition of anti-Zionists and liberal Zionists. This is how they turn you into a Zionist, okay? Because I know that you want to do something about Israel right now. You feel really bad about this. So what they do is they show you an anti-Zionist personality, an aesthetically anti-Zionist personality, like someone like Hassan Piker or someone like Zohran...
Joey, it's very meta, but welcome to the internet in 2026.
Mamdani, who has like a decade or more of pro-Palestine activist cred. And then they get those people to tell you, look at this Zionist candidate, right? Look at him. Sure, he's a Zionist, but he agrees with us on everything else. Let's make a coalition with him. And suddenly you're compromising on Palestine. Suddenly, materially...
You're minimizing it, too.
In terms of your action, the Palestine issue is off the table. It no longer matters. It's discarded. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. That's how they turn you into a Zionist.
I want my Zionists to be pro-trans rights, okay?
And at that point, it doesn't matter how many watermelon emojis you have in your username. It doesn't matter how much pro-Palestine paraphernalia you've got. It doesn't matter how many protests you've been to. It doesn't matter what you claim to believe. In function, you are supporting a Zionist. You are compromising on Palestine first thing. It's like saying that you support Medicare for all when the very first thing that you compromise when it comes to supporting a politician who could actually implement that policy, who could work to get it implemented, the very first thing that you compromise is that. You're just okay with them dropping that. And it says a lot about these people's politics.
And their constitution.
The very first thing that they drop.
And their resolve and their principles.
Always seems to be anti-Zionism. It always seems to be a red line on Palestine. It always seems to be imperialism in general. But right now, yeah, I shouldn't exceptionalize Palestine here, because it really is just imperialism in general, okay? Right now, it's Palestine. In 5 years, it could be something else, but it's always going to be imperialism first. It's always going to be, well, yeah, this guy wants to invade China. Well, yeah, this guy supports like a counterattack against the Chinese takeover of Taiwan to invent like an absurd scenario. But I mean, he said he wants Medicare for all. He's on our side. He's campaigning with us. He's doing us a favor by endorsing us. I mean, what's a little compromise between friends? The number one way to move the needle is to no longer compromise on these things. Now, to practically do that, you need to not be in the Democratic Party, obviously. To practically do that, you need to start building something from the ground up. But while you're trying to do that, while you're waiting, you can stop supporting fuckers like these, okay? Because this is fundamentally just a waste of time. It's a total waste of time. Supporting people like this, supporting Democrats, is a waste of your time. Even if you think building a third party is near impossible, Well, getting anything on imperialism done in the Democratic Party is even more impossible.
Yeah.
So you might as well invest your time into the other thing that has at least a slight inkling of possibility of doing something.
Yes.
Then lending your voice, your support, your labor hours to campaigning, to supporting Zionist politicians and imperialist politicians, okay? Because one of those things is an active detriment. You'd be better off sitting at home and wanking to anime than going out and supporting Brad Lander, okay? Or any other Zionist politician.
Wanking to anime? Does this guy, is he in my search history? What?
People like Hassan Pike could tell you to support. What we in the international left have been telling you guys, as I have summarized before, is very simple. Please stop supporting Zionist and imperialist politicians. Please build your own alternatives that are not Zionist and not imperialist. Please stop supporting people who are in the Democratic Party and who are obviously going to compromise once they are elected. They're going to compromise on everything that you pertain to care about. You know this has happened before. It's going to keep happening. The way they turn you into a Zionist, the way they turn you into an imperialist, no matter how much you truly care deep down about Palestinians, is by getting you to compromise, is by convincing you that the Zionists aren't so bad, by telling you that I like Brad Lander. The next second you're voting for Brad Lander, you're campaigning for Brad Lander. Once you've done that, what's another liberal Zionist? Or two, or three, or four, or five, or six? The best time to stop doing this was many years ago, but the next best time is now. And fundamentally, what I've been trying to do for the last year or so in directing a lot of my content talking about American politics is getting people to realize that. And I hope at least I've changed some of your minds, because if not, I don't even know what to do, man. I fucking hope so. What happens when you talk about how you need to vote for Graham Plattner, even though he's a proud mass murderer, an open and proud mass murderer of Iraqis and Afghans, while you claim to be anti-imperialist? Well, you're compromising on imperialism then, because you clearly don't think that it's really that bad to mass murder Iraqis and Afghans in the end, if in your actions you're willing to support someone like that, just because you think that the rest of their politics have the potential to benefit you in some way. If you have no line for these things, you don't meaningfully support them. You need to have a line, okay? You need to have a fucking line somewhere. You can claim to be an anti-imperialist as much as you want. You could make 1 million anti-imperialist videos. But when it fucking comes down to it, you're in a country like the USA, where you have oversized political power over the rest of the world. As a collective, you have the most potential to do something out of any of us. And the way that you weaponize that, while benefiting from all of the benefits that imperialism gives you, is to just vote for imperialists and Zionists and help instill in others the idea that it's actually okay to compromise with those people, and we shouldn't hold the line against imperialism and Zionism. Then you're not meaningfully anti-imperialist or anti-Zionist. It doesn't fucking matter how radical you are in your rhetoric if in what you end up advocating for in practice, supporting in practice, campaigning for in practice.
In case in point, look at liberal sheepdog Kyle Kulinski. Where is this? Let me find this post. This is a banger meme I made. Not that it matters, but it does. I'm proud of my work. Just class war for me, thanks. Yeah, I know it's not work. It's just a meme. I'm churching it up. I get it, okay? It's ironic that Democrat sheepdogs preach. Oh yeah, I've shared that with you before. Where the fuck is my goddamn? Yeah, here it is. This is liberalism. So you make a career playing, this is sort of going with what Bad Empanada was talking about. You make a career paying lip service to anti-billionaire policies, then turn around and endorse their campaigns. Meanwhile, there's one candidate who perfectly aligns with the rhetoric these liberals pay lip service to, and that's Butch Ware. But here we have Kyle Kulinski. He says, California, vote for Tim Steyer. This guy's, anti-billionaire, I thought. Now look at the comments here. Same guy. This I didn't know this, but this is from one of the people that commented. He says, same guy 3 days apart. Here's a screenshot of 2 of his tweets. He says on May 22nd, billionaires are the devil. And then fast forward 3 days later, the only good billionaire is a class traitor. Vote Tom Steyer. The only way that Tom Steyer could be a class traitor to the billionaire class of which he's a part of is for him to divest his vast fortune and quit being a billionaire. That's the only way you can be a class traitor. It's not by buying the election for the California governor for $200 million because you ran this campaign promising taxing the rich. So it's just they speak out of both sides of their mouth, Where are their principles? Like, do they hear themselves? He's the good billionaire, they say. The billionaire Bernie Sanders, they say. Just one more billionaire, dude. I promise this is the one. Please, bro. Just one more election. This one is the one, I promise you. Absurd, man. And that's what leads me to say, no more controlled ops. I want my ops uncontrolled, thank you. All right, back to this video. Sorry.
It's all the exact opposite of that, okay? And ultimately, these people understand that because they're not telling you to vote for like a Republican anti-Zionist candidate, are they? They're not telling you that you should vote for a Republican anti-Zionist candidate who has bad American domestic politics. They're only telling you to vote for the Zionist candidates who have good American domestic politics.
Don't vote for the Republican anti-Zionist. Vote for the liberal Zionist. What?
That makes it abundantly clear what they're willing to compromise on.
They're still playing up that left-right dichotomy.
It's the rest of the world. And for you as an American anti-imperialist to change this is to change that. Whatever way it needs to be done. Build a third party from scratch. Or, even just not supporting those people. Even just not supporting them.
Yeah, just don't support
them. Would be an improvement.
Thank you. Just don't endorse them. Don't campaign on their behalf. Don't support Zionism with your time, your energy, your money. You could literally just stay at home and resist the temptation of endorsing Zionism in all of its many shades and colors, right? There's a whole spectrum of Zionism, apparently. And some forms of Zionism are okay, and others are not. No, that's not true. That's not how this works. Where is our backbone? Where's our moral backbone as the underclass?
This is Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White.
I say as a Christian, it should be mandated to go to Israel before you get to heaven. I'm so
I'm speaking in the room with Netanyahu, so I gotta flatter his ass. Please, Netanyahu, let me lick your butthole.
She is again.
We command all satanic pregnancies to miscarry right now. We declare that anything that's been conceived in satanic wombs, that it'll miscarry.
And again.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. And I won't do that.
And again.
Nobody helped him up.
So Donald Trump is God.
Begin to pick himself up in the name of...
This is what weaponized faith looks like, and they are using it to manipulate our mothers, our fathers, our older generations, and Christians must speak out against this evil.
Feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like a rock war number 2. A rock war number 2. I like the look of those oil supplies.
Al-Qaeda has a new home.
This is Mike Pre-Ozempic.
Base. It is the Islamic Republic of Iran.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses.
We ignore this Iran Al-Qaeda nexus at our own peril.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we steal.
Since 2015, Iran has...
I think we get the idea.
And so, which brings us to 9/11. Your opinion?
My opinion, as a criminal investigator, as a former CI officer, 9/11 was not the act of a bunch of poorly flight-trained terrorists that executed an unbelievably meticulous piloting of those aircraft. Even pilots, there's pilots for 9/11 Truth now, and they say we could not have done that. Experienced pilots could not have made those maneuvers.
Especially with the Pentagon, like the plane that hit this alleged plane that hit the Pentagon. I mean, the Pentagon's like a 2-story building, you know? You're trying to fly a commercial jet on a low-level building like that, and to see the supposed flight path that it took, it like circled around. I mean, and like he's saying, a lot of the pilots are like, this is absurd. Like, this is crazy. There's no way he would have been able to go fly the plane into the Pentagon. And he apparently he was like at street level for like a couple blocks, you know? That's what they tell us.
Not possible. And then we
clipping power lines and clipping light poles.
To the passport issue, and we go to the Tower 7, which was a controlled demolition. Obviously. You talk to any structural engineer, and I have. Well, that was a controlled demolition. I mean, it was perfect. And then you look at the facts that just don't add up, and the facts that were left out of the 9/11 Commission report, and then the ridiculous.
The 9/11 Commission report says absolute zero about Building 7.
Claims they made, the lack of airplane parts, no landing gear, no engines, which we talked about.
Where are the black boxes?
American decline is a direct product of Trump's rise since 2016. It is as if Trump had decided to do everything in his power to weaken the United States vis-a-vis China. He has polarized an already polarized country as no previous president. He's cut funding for basic scientific research and attacked American universities, which are the best in the world. He has gotten the United States involved in an unnecessary war in the Middle East and has depleted stocks of advanced American munitions, which could be useful in a conflict in East Asia. He and his colleagues have openly stated that their domestic opponents, the Democrats, are a far greater threat to the future of the United States than either China or Russia. Trump has also systematically sought to undermine the U.S. alliance system, disparaging allies while heaping tariffs on even the closest traditional friends and threatening to grab the territory from Denmark, Greenland, a loyal NATO ally. He claims that the United States under his leadership is now respected as never before. Actually, something close to the opposite is the truth. There is agreement among America's friends and rivals that the United States has become something of a rogue state that is contributing to global instability and disorder, as well as something of a laughingstock. Trump has made Xi Jinping's life enormously easier.
Yeah, he has.
In a way that was reflected in his behavior during the summit. America under Trump has been engaged in such a determined process of self-harm that China does not really need to do anything other than sit back and watch it unfold. Trump predicted that China would not attack Taiwan while he was the president, and he may be right about this. Xi does not want to get in the way of a declining United States.
No, indeed.
But he may be forced to act quickly if the United States finally gets a president who wants to reverse this long-term trajectory.
Talk about controlled demolition. China is engineering a controlled demolition of the U.S. empire as we speak. They're managing the destruction. They don't want it to proceed too much to where it destroys the entire world, but they want it to continue. They want to help facilitate it, and it's happening in a controlled manner. That's a good clip. China sends aid to Cuba amid a harsh U.S. blockade. America bombs while China builds and sends aid. But be fearful of China, am I right? Eldridge is absolutely correct. If you're not hating China, what are you doing?
Este proyecto.
I don't like that video. Yeah. No. We are all Charlie Kirk. I bet you were just thinking, man, I really want to hear the Japanese dub of the Nightcore hit We Are Charlie Kirk by Pigeon. Oh, we got another music producer in the chat who made that, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this composition. It's a banger so far. Hey, whatever you say. This is what I'm here for. This is the main culture. The Miami Boys Choir. Down there in Miami. These are the ballroom boys. Get it? B-A-A-L room boys. The Epstein boys. This is my own personal 9/11. Dab Zula says they've had enough. Enough is never enough. They're like, muting, all caps. I'm muting the stream. People are just going crazy about mute. And that's funny to me. It's like, I'm going to stay, but I'm voicing my dissatisfaction. I'm muting the stream, but I'm gonna still hang out, though. Oh, my God. It got worse. It got worse. I can't even... we made it almost to the end, but there's 14 more seconds of it, and I just can't. The future lawyers of America. Wait till my lawyer hears about this. Bass Pro Shops. Oh my God. Same clip. Oh God. You know, guys, if you didn't like that, you have this guy to thank. Steamy Secrets Sensual Slaps. That's his name here on the Discord. We see you. We're banning you forever. How dare you, sir? It's to build character. I thought you knew that. All right, we got to put you through some things to toughen you up a little bit, all right? And that's why I do this. It's because it's tough love, okay? It's because I care. Warning that the YouTube has detected a copyright material, and it could be that they take the stream down if I play it any longer, so I'm going to stop there. They're going to give me a copyright thing. It's not going to be a strike, but I'll have to deal with it later. So yeah, when you share George Carlin to the stream, it's copyrighted every time. Just so that you know. Mexican drug cartels are as well equipped as elite military units. Hello, CIA. All right. Let's see. I'm so sick of music. Here's the Oreshnik. Yo! Yo! Boy! Yo! It's crazy because there was no like explosion though. You'd think that was intense. Oh, yo! Shit! They're like, oh yes, Oreshnik. All hail Lord Oreshnik.
Yo, say, what's new with you? Oh, we struck Iran while we're negotiating. Are you serious? You've been negotiating for so long, and he said that the peace plan is coming real soon. Well, the negotiations have been really hectic, man. What happened, and also, why did you attack them? Well, regarding the negotiations, I'm told Iran to make a deal, you should either destroy your uranium or hand it over to the US. Are you serious? My uranium is like a national sovereignty. Well, it's also a path to a nuclear weapon, so we don't want you to have it. That is crazy. But is that the craziest thing he said in the negotiations? Oh, he did say another crazy thing, because he demanded that countries like Saudi Arabia Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Jordan to join the Abraham Accords, and if they don't, then no deal will be made. What? Are you serious, US? You're bringing all of those countries into the deal? You want them to do something that they would never do? Well, Trump wants them to do it. You really think they would? No idea, bro's asking some impossible stuff. It looks like he's making it harder so that no peace deal gets made. Seriously, but also, what about the attack today? Well, we attacked Iran in self-defense today. Are you kidding me? Okay, explain that. Well, we were like, Iran is gonna launch missiles at us. So we launched strikes inside of southern Iran, and that's where their missile launch sites are. So you broke the ceasefire. No, it was only self-defense. How is it self-defense? We didn't even attack you! But you were thinking of it. What? Wow, this logic is really crazy.
So crazy.
Mr. Brando, why did you refuse the Academy Award last year?
I refused it because of the increasing control of Zionists in Hollywood.
This is AI.
They own the studios, they shape the stories, they decide who gets heard and who doesn't. I saw it clearly, and I couldn't be part of that system anymore.
That's fake. I mean, he wouldn't have said Zionist. He would have said Jays. And he did. And we've seen clips of that. But I think that's AI.
I love jokes. I think jokes are fun. But my favorite joke of all time is that Robert Maxwell literally stole all of our nuclear secrets and then sold them to Israel. And instead of going to prison for this, for treason maybe, he decided to just buy up all of the American institutions that most heavily affect the human psyche, such as giant media conglomerates and the education system. So let's see, where did he start? He partnered with McGraw-Hill, and then coincidentally all 50 states decided to use this publishing company as their standardized textbooks. And then his daughter just happened to be, Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice and recruiter in child trafficking. And then
yeah, there was that.
When we notice that these things are harmful, we're actually the offensive ones. It's like, what is going on? Because he created the education system around that. So everyone will team up against you because that's wrong and you don't want history to repeat itself, So I just feel like that's a really funny joke, right?
And then she's like, now watch this drive.
Did you laugh? Anyways, this is my driver.
Oh, she did do it. She did the thing.
Haha. I'm laughing on the
she
inside.
Pulled a George W. Bush.
Like a winner.
Dang. Okay, but why are you golfing? Golfing sucks. Here's Sam Altman on how Judaism shapes his worldview.
As a New England Jew, I have to ask you.
As a New England Jew?
How does Judaism shape your worldview, and what has it been like to have been a Jewish leader since October 7th?
Oh my God.
If you had asked me this question at the beginning of the year,
I hate his vocal fry. Listening to the schmuck talk is like, it's grating. Oh God, I hate this man so much.
I would have said there's all of these subtle but important cultural
It's
things.
always bullshit too. You can hear him ramping up with the bullshit.
That have, I think, shaped my worldview and how I act.
This is all bullshit.
And how
Shut
I sort
up.
of live my life.
Word salad.
And I wouldn't have talked about anything other than that. And one of the weird things about being Jewish and getting internet famous is most of your online experience is people saying horrible things about Jews.
Oh,
they hurt I don't know if that was always the
oh no.
case or if that's ramped up.
Yeah,
but that's
it
certainly
has
been my
ramped up,
experience this
hasn't
year.
it? Yeah,
and
it is. It
on
has.
double time since the last couple of months.
Since wait, what is it? Yeah, what's the thing we're going with? How do I say something while saying nothing?
I was just wrong.
It's like when you look up, it's like, okay, you're full of shit. You're trying to pull things out of your ass.
To be so dismissive of this. I was like, look, anti-Semitism, we're done with that. The world has moved on. There's other problems. Let's talk about those.
There's other problems. There's other problems. Let's talk about that. Yeah?
And I have really seen in this last year, and particularly in these last couple of months, that I was just completely wrong about that.
Yeah.
And it's a sad, sad thing for the world.
So sad.
You're
Such a
someone who
sad
likes
thing. Not the genocide committed by the one and only Jewish state. No, that's not sad. It's the response. People saying nasty thing about the one and only Jewish state. When they start using our language back at us, we don't like that. It's really stereotypical. and it hurts my fifis.
To take on intractable problems, as you've thought about that, how do you think about solutions towards that?
That one seems harder than AGI.
Oh, what a shithead. What was that last question?
As you've thought about that, how do you think about solutions towards that?
Towards what?
You're someone who likes to take on intractable problems. As you've thought about that, how do you think about solutions towards that?
So he says it's harder than AGI.
That one seems harder than AGI.
So what is the problem that he's talking about? Solving anti-Semitism. How to curtail and vanquish the scourge of anti-Semitism. That is something that is harder to solve than something that he can't solve, which is artificial general intelligence. It's the most complex issue, really. Meanwhile, Arthur Quan Lee says, why have they been expelled 109 times?
722 BCE, Assyrians deport 27,280 from northern Israel due to criminal money lending practices. 586 BCE, native Babylonians exile Judean elite.
Yeah, let's go through the track record here.
And destroy first temple due to massive child on 200.
Let's go back to the beginning. Let's just make sure were we going through all 109? This is crazy.
722 BCE, Assyrians deport 27,280 from northern Israel due to criminal money lending practices. 586 BCE, native Babylonians exile Judean elite and destroy first temple due to massive child sacrificing rituals being enacted within Babylonian temples.
Wow.
135 CE, Hadrian
It's like when Netanyahu's like, yeah, they've been saying this about us for years.
Bans them from Jerusalem after the Bar Kokhba revolt, which was a massive revolt against the government at the time, funded by the corrupt activists spreading fallacious propagandized lies to emit chaos. 1182, Philip Augustus expels them from the French royal domain after a massive money lending scam was exposed.
It's like, why are these ancient pictures being drawn up depicting these things? What was going on back then? And why is everything related to Epstein Island?
Draining the nation's native men and women. 1290, Edward I expels all 16,000 anti-Christian sewer dwellers from England because of usury corruption, specifically targeting the warrior knight class into debt. 1306 and 1394, Philip IV and Charles VI expelled them from France after a huge fiscal seizure was thwarted onto the French people from insider usury manipulation.
It's like no matter where they go, no one will take them. This is the worst track record in history.
1421, Austria, in Vienna, mass expulsion under Albert V when massive child sacrificing rituals were exposed on top of organized plans to put the nation's middle class into a crippling debt. 1492, Spain, Alhambra decree expels 40,000.
I'm noticing a trend of debt, usury, and child sacrifice.
bells and small hats after massive blasphemy against Jesus Christ was publicly exposed, including the mass targeting of Christian boys from working class families for blood libel trafficking. 1497, Portugal forces mass expulsion after desecration of their holiest Catholic reliquaries and meeting places were caught red-handed by the same usual suspects. 1670, Leopold I expels them from Vienna and Austria after illegal money lending practices and consistent plots to corrupt the youth were exposed.
I really think that feeding children and not bombing them and letting them live is far more important than being Jewish. And I feel like if it came down to it, one or the other, I feel like most sensible Jews would say, you know what, it's not really that important to me. I'd rather not unalive children. If I have to renounce my faith in order for, you know, kids not to be bombed and genocided, then maybe that's it's no hill to die on, right?
Between the 1948 to 1970s, apparently 850,000 reported expelled to flee Arab countries after World War II from Iraq, Egypt, Yemen, Libya, Syria, etc., via programs and asset seizures. And I'm not including several hundreds of smaller city-state expulsions that occurred all across Germany, Italy, and Eastern Europe, And notice the changing
not even
names to
getting
fit
there.
the cultural context and language syntax at that time, whether they call themselves Israelites, Judeans, Pharisees, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, Mizrahim, whatever it is. It's like that previous video I made. It doesn't matter if they call themselves Baal, Moloch, Kronos, or Saturn. It's the rabbinical of today that have taken shape and form as the same Satanists of the past 109 times over.
Did this motherfucker just say Sephardim? What?
So I excluded a lot, but with that being said, this video will be an unvarnished chronicle that the so-called polite and academically handheld historians never dare to deliver with open honesty. The history of the chosen people who cannot be named as the archetype of the diaspora nation, a people scattered, renamed, restricted, resented, and repeatedly expelled, not because of some
There's the bloody
insane Gentile
mattress.
jealousy that they always repeatedly claim, but because of the concrete recurring frictions that arose when their religious practices of segregation, economic backstabbery, financial usury, defilement of the youth, and supremacism collided with the host societies that they inhabited. And to be perfectly clear, this is not sympathy nor condemnation, not conspiracy. I just want to make a video with plain records of events, drawn from primary chronicles, royal
Can't argue
edicts,
with that.
ecclesiastical decrees, and modern scholarly consensus from their own sources, by the way, written by them. We will trace it from the ancient kingdoms through the Pharisee to rabbinic transformation, the medieval expulsions, and into the modern era, naming the practices that host cultures repeatedly found intolerable before their expulsions occurred. So I ask you to first listen to this whole video, and then at the end of it, you tell me whether it was wrong or right. You tell me if it was fair or not. So let's begin at the root. The people who became known as today originated as the ancient Israelites and Hebrews of the Levant, with the southern kingdom of Judah giving the later ethnonym after the northern kingdom of Israel fell to the Assyrians in 722 BCE. The Assyrians under Sargon II deported 27,280 inhabitants of Samaria and resettled them across the empire. This was the first major recorded expulsion and dispersion of these tribes, scattering 10 of the 12 into what legend calls the Lost Tribes. The survivors in Judah faced the Babylonian captivity in 586 BCE when Nebuchadnezzar II destroyed the first temple and exiled the elite to Babylon. There, under Persian rule after Cyrus the Great's conquest, they returned in waves, but they never fully reconstituted the old formation. Instead, a permanent diaspora consciousness took root while maintaining their Talmudic philosophy of supremacism and despondent manipulation against outsiders whom they then referred to as the Goyim. And these are the of today. And these defiling so-called persecuted religious communities persisted in Babylon, Egypt, and beyond. And they met in secrecy, enacting the same strategies that we see today. Because there's nothing new under the sun. Fast forward to the Roman era, the true pivot into diaspora pattern was made into permanence onto their identity as a parasitic people. The Bar Kokhba revolt of 135 CE sealed this even further. Emperor Hadrian crushed the satanic rebellion and banned the so-called chosen from Jerusalem. This was not mere conquest.
You know, I love when they want to go back to 3,000 years and talk about ancient history. What about this ancient history? What about 136 BCE and shit?
It was deliberate demographic engineering to prevent further degeneration inside their social cohesion. From this point, the people became defined by exile.
He's got to beep out the J word.
With communities
That's where we're
stretching
at
from
today.
Rome to Persia, North Africa to Rhineland. They carried multiple overlapping identities. Hebrews by ancestry, Israelites by covenant, Judeans by geography, and increasingly the term
That's a great point, you know? It's the Barbara Streisand effect. I don't even believe a single thing that was about anything like more than 500 years ago. Exactly. Bro, people can't even remember if the Monopoly guy has a monocle or not. And that shit is in our lifetime. Thank you. But no, we're absolutely sure that, speaking of Monopoly, we have a monopoly on the ancient historical record. You know, and we're citing the Miracle Book as evidence, a book that the Jays wrote themselves. And we're supposed to accept that as historical artifact and the only provable correct interpretation of history. Get fucked.
And to dominate for the stereotype that they continue to legitimize throughout different cultures and different people. But whatever they call themselves, however they masquerade themselves, whatever costumes they wear, they all worship the same entity, the Dark One. But
maybe it's the Nelson Mandela effect? Did I get that wrong? So there's the Streisand effect, right? But there's also the Mandela effect. Are they not the same effect? Is there any difference in those concepts?
Critical shift was their projected...
Pretty sure it's like you misremember things that didn't happen. Something to that effect.
Sectarianism weaponized as a defense mechanism.
The name of this video is Why Have Blank Been Expelled 109 Times? It's by Arthur Quan Lee.
For their wrongdoing. Among the pre-70 factions, Sadducees tied to the temple priesthood, Essenes and ascetic withdrawal, Zealots in militancy, only one survived the righteous cataclysm intact enough to rebuild a communion.
Yeah, I feel like you can say Jews. We love the Jews. It's a word. We can say it.
Baal. The Pharisees, the ones who killed Jesus. The Pharisees, often mistranslated today, but historically, the party emphasizing oral interpretive law, synagogue worship, and child sacrificing became the direct progenitors of what we now call Rabbinic Judaism. After 70 CE, their heirs, the Tanaim and later Amoraim, gathered at Yavne and codified the Mishnah around 200 CE. Now enter the medieval Christian and Islamic worlds, where these diaspora communities repeatedly filled economic niches and local laws or customs left open for free trade, where the same people took the good faith system into personal in-group utility based on resentment. In early medieval Europe, church doctrine forbade Christians from charging interest on loans. Usury was a sin, as it should be today in our economy of central banking. Unbound by that moral allegiance and prohibition, and often barred by guild and land laws from farming or most crafts because they don't create anything, they just manage and steal it, gravitated to money lending, tax farming, and trade. They even had a stipulation in the fine print where if a Gentile could not pay back the interest at a moment's notice, they could have sexual favor over their wives that ended up justifying the abduction of many women at that time. Rulers invited them in because they were proselytized themselves as experts in financial literacy to serve the Christian conscience, only to betray them. Yet this role, of course, bred friction. Debtors resented the interest, corrupted kings seized assets with the banker's excuse when their usury-based debts mounted, and popular preachers exposed the exploitation. This demographic slaughtered transparency and honesty in all of the trading markets according to multiple 12th century Christian scholars. So the stage was again set for expulsion. Consider England in 1290. Had arrived with the Normans in 1066.
Consider England in 1290. Have you considered that yet?
As royal proteges to handle financial matters under the guise of, again, altruism and volunteering their expertise. By the 13th century, they dominated short-term credit against the people and chronic indebtedness among knights and nobles. Notice they always target the warrior class. Combined with blood libel accusations from constant missing children on high holy holidays, culminated
throughout history. You see these paintings across cultures, across time. Old, let's just say people conducting, look at this, dead babies at the foot. Can y'all see that? I'm kind of blocking it. But like, why are they making these pictures? What is going on here? They're torturing a baby and then like collecting its blood? That is deeply disturbing.
Edward I's edict of expulsion. So roughly 3,000.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Can you believe the propaganda? Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing Yahtzee propaganda. Oh my goodness, have you tried crying about it?
Their property was confiscated, and the debts they loomed over the head.
We know in this time and age, if there's one group that's considered Nazis, it's certainly the people that are noticing, right? Couldn't be the ones that are actually perpetrating a genocide, you fucking clown. Where are your clown shoes? Put them on and skedaddle on out of here.
Of Christian families were canceled. Money lending at selective interest for some and tax-free.
This is a fucking video on YouTube, you dumbass. Somebody shared it on the Discord. Should we tell YouTube they're doing Nazi propaganda? What, I can't watch videos on YouTube? Oh my God. Cry harder.
Others was the crime, which English Christians wanted to handle themselves once capital markets evolved, but the owners of the banks made it so it was illegal to work around them whatsoever.
Pattern recognition is very antiseptic. You must only accept the Zionist version of history, thank you, then you're not going to be a Nazi. Okay? How dare you, sir? It's hilarious, dude. That's hilarious. These are the kinds of... And they super chatted me. They paid me money to say that.
So the Christian populace was enslaved to banking once again. And you see a similar pattern in France. Philip Augustus expelled from the royal domain.
Hot dog, we will go as long and as hard as necessary, okay? There is a genocide happening by the one and only Jewish state. It's literally the worst thing in modern history. The state of Jewish supremacy, the nation state of Israel. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. Sorry, folks. We're talking about the Jays. We're talking about the Jay-Z's. We're talking about Israel. It's the most pressing issue of the day. I didn't make the fucking rules. I didn't engineer foreign policy. I didn't make this a fucking thing, okay? We're reacting to the prevailing issues of our day. So that's how this goes. I'll stop talking about it once the fucking genocide stops. How about that?
1182, and Philip IV did it again in 1306. Why? More money lending and interest-free loans for insiders while charging higher fees and discovery of child abduction cartels after only a single generation of these people living in the six-sided mainland. And then we have Spain, 1492. It's another notable archetype and example of this. After the Reconquista, the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella faced a large converso population, sacrificing missing children in temple rituals and practicing in the cabal of usury lending. So, the Alhambra decree gave the choice of conversion by denouncing the supremacy-oriented part of their faith, or exile. Estimates range from 40,000 to 200,000 departed for Portugal, North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, and Italy. The Talmud and rabbinic authority were seen by the church as heretical alternatives to Christian scripture from the blatant blasphemy towards Jesus Christ and the harshness exhibited.
Don't repeat what the Talmud says. That's just Nazi. You're just promoting Nazi propaganda. Noticing is Nazi propaganda. Don't use the words that they use against us back at them, because then you're just a Nazi.
Against those that follow him, written all over their own writings. So the pattern repeats across the Holy Roman Empire, Italy, and Eastern Europe.
People think that like using the word goy is Yahtzee propaganda. I'm like, we can't use the word that they made for us back at them. They created the framework. They created this whole dichotomy of J's and G's, joys and goos. And that's what we should do. We should just flip it. We're talking about the joys and the goos. The goos and the joys are irreconcilably antagonistic towards each other. But don't talk about the goos. That's very Yahtzee of you.
Patience for economic utility, followed by market restrictions from money lending and usury peddling. In conjunction to that is rising resentment.
People that claim to be anti-Zionist will cancel you for using the word GOY. I just don't understand that. I mean, it's just baffling me.
Blood libels and child abduction rings repetitively exposed, host desecration acts, and constant statues and effigies of owls or bull-headed gods being surfaced from underground tunnels and secret forest meeting places. It's all over the history writings, on and on. By popular demand, King of Kings here will now be available as a fine art print at arthurquinley.com. The print itself, they go into a place, they corrupt the financial system, and they start abducting and sacrificing kids. And the rulers of these lands, when fiscally strained from their vampiric one-way system of politically pressured corruption, found expulsion as an easy solution to liberate its own people and satisfy the outspoken authority.
That's right, we're taking our power back.
It's inside the church. Later, in the 20th century, the pattern reemerges as well in post-1948. Between 1948 and the 1970s, roughly reported, although notice who are the ones reporting, 850,000 were displaced from Arab countries and Iran after being relocated from Germany after the Weimar Republic, where Magnus Hirschfeld was doing the same thing, targeting the German youth with transgenderism in conjunction to the crippling Rothschild central banking system that crippled the German people. So it's the same thing, time and time again. The targeting of the Christian populace with financial slavery, which is why Jesus whipped the money changers after all, in conjunction to child sacrifice. And throughout all this, the people adapted by preserving portable institutions to continue their satanic and twisted spirituality while hiding under the veneer of alliance with Freemasonic.
If you think Jewish feelings are more important in, protecting than Palestinian lives, I got nothing to say to you. Except that you are showing your whole asshole to everyone. In 2021, Taliban fighters in Afghanistan found an abandoned gem left by American troops, leading to this hilarious video of confused members of the Taliban using a gem for the first time. How would you rate this one? Okay, that was nonsense. The last great president.
I have made it clear to the Israeli leadership that I do not support.
I don't think that JFK was a class friend.
Their expansionist ideas.
Oof. What happened to him in Dallas again?
Thank you, Jiffy. Non-Zio rabbis in New York openly preach about enslavement of us after they bring their Messiah by rebuilding the temple. Why do we have to accept it? Why can't we, why can't we be bitter? Why can't we be politically incorrect? Oh my goodness, clutch your pearls. Why do we have to tiptoe through the tulips, walking on eggshells, when they're so blatantly disrespectful towards us? And that's putting it mildly.
The indigenous people of that land have rights that cannot be ignored. We must find a fair solution, not one dictated by any single group.
This ideology, we think, probably costed him his life. Really, truly feels like the more I learn about this man, he was truly the last great United States president.
Okay. Okay, fine. What do we need to do at work tomorrow, salad noodles? Tell me. Preach. Okay, we saw that already. All right, I think we've gotten, we got some news.
I want to know why Jews are so rich. When the
I mean, Hot Dog's like, are we talking about the Jays the whole time? Well, I mean, this is what you guys are sharing too.
I want to know why Jews are so rich. When the Ashkenazi Jews, the bulk majority of Jews in America today, first came to this country, they were dirt poor, to say the least, working mostly as seamstresses, tailors, and other
What's up with the big band jazz soundtrack?
of menial professions, seeing as they were de facto barred from higher institutions. So how did this community gain so much wealth so quickly? During the Prohibition era of the 1920s, bootlegging became a very, very profitable criminal enterprise. Because of the already existing ethnic-centered community that existed within these Jewish areas, organized crime became a very, very easy thing to do. Key figures included people like Arnold Rothstein, Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, Lepke Buchalter, Dutch Schultz, and Mickey Cohen. After profiting initially from bootlegging, they expanded into labor union control, racketeering, illegal gambling, prostitution, narcotics, etc. All sorts of various organized criminal activity. And because of the tight-knit nature of their community, they were able to reinvest in their community, invest in lobbying agencies, which allowed them to directly affect government policy, allowing their children to finally enter into higher education institutions. The reason you don't hear about this is because something like the Italian Mafia we can make movies about, largely because the Italian Mafia isn't really active today. However, you don't see a lot of movies about the Russian Mafia or the Albanian Mafia, and none about the history of the Jewish Mafia, despite it being significantly larger than the Italian Mafia.
it's
This is
true.
because it's largely still running. It's just now gone into legitimate businesses. So the next time you
Right.
hear someone like a Shabbos Kestenbaum tell you that you're merely jealous of their wealth, you can remind them that you too could be very wealthy if you decided to be a criminal.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh no, Zioslop? Do we have
13 Jews were just arrested on the Temple Mount. They weren't arrested for causing a disturbance.
Are you serious? Please tell me more, Israel guys.
Or for harassing Muslims. They were arrested because in an act of bold defiance of the secular status quo, they attempted to reinstate the sacred Shavuot sacrifice.
Oh, not the sacred Shavuot sacrifice.
Courts where the temple stood. We'll get into all the details on this, what it means.
They interrupted our child sacrifice ritual.
And the fallout afterwards.
But according to the Talmud.
Also, a massive assassination plot against Ivanka Trump was just uncovered, and the man who was responsible for it turned out to be someone very unexpected. There are major ramifications with this story as well.
Major ramifications. Look at his shirt. Now, what a cope of a shirt. He's like, West Bank? No. It's Judea and Samaria. You see that? I mean, these guys have no culture, no heritage, no traditions. It's just occupation. That's why they have shirts with slogans referencing their occupation, referencing their crimes against humanity. It's nothing but sadism and genocide and ethnic cleansing and war, terrorism, occupation, as I said.
I'm Justin Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys.
And this is the Israel
Past Friday, 13 Jews snuck onto the Temple Mount and were subsequently arrested. Their crime? Possession of bread. The bread wasn't stolen, it didn't have weapons or anything dangerous.
It just had a little poison in it.
Baked into it. It was just bread. Or was it? Let me give you a little more context. This weekend...
I don't really think I want to know more context, anything, because I just think anything you're saying is a lie.
The Jewish people celebrated the festival of Shavuot, or as you might know it, Pentecost.
This is Pentecost. Oh, that doesn't sound good. It sounds satanic.
It's one of the 3 pilgrimage holidays, so many people go up to Jerusalem. We had the opportunity to go to Jerusalem ourselves. I even got to ascend the Temple Mount on Sunday with some friends. It's always an amazing experience. You go to the place where God chose to place his name forever. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second. When the temple was still standing on the Temple Mount, every year during this feast, bread was offered at the temple, but the bread had to be made with freshly ground wheat. What these Jews were doing wasn't just...
What were these Jews doing?
Bringing bread onto an ancient archaeological site to make a Reuben sandwich. They were attempting to revive an almost 3,500-year-old tradition. And that's why this bread was such a big...
So, child sacrifice?
Deal. Now, we don't know exactly how these Jews managed to get onto the Temple Mount. Israel actually shut down the Temple Mount.
How do these Jews get on the Temple Mount?
Out to all...
These Jews are shifty.
Non-Muslims on Shavuot, which talk about discrimination. On one of the most important days on the Jewish calendar, the
Damn, maybe don't starve 2.3 million people in an illegal blockade and then genocide their entire civilization and then cry about, you know, your silly little sacrificial ritual of Shavuot. The 3,500-year-old tradition was interrupted. Who gives a shit?
Site in Judaism was completely closed down to Jews.
Just like the feigned moral outrage. Oh, can you believe? It's like the self-entitlement for me. The narcissism. They cry out as they strike you. The boy, the goy who cried wolf. Well, no, not the goy, but the joy who cried wolf.
That's a feeling given to me by my grandfather, my bar mitzvah.
Your grandparents are Holocaust survivors,
He
right?
was in Dachau, my grandmother was in Auschwitz.
That's beautiful. And they're survivors, right?
They are survivors of those camps.
Wow.
And, this is my tefillin, and this is what I used
Now
to
we're
run.
fighting for never again. Never again. You mark my words. Never again.
Never again for humanity. That's 100%. What I'm saying. You know, the whole reason we want to get to a place where we all can live together peacefully. And the truth is, we need to continue to show who we are in the face of hate.
That was Scooter Braun. So, as the world condemns the sovereign state of Judaism for its war crimes. What are they saying? As the entire world holds them in contempt and reviles them, they're saying, well, we just got to continue on in the face of hate. Just continue on. Don't need to change anything, of course. Just continue along the same path of destruction. Man. I've got fatigue, guys. I have a lot of fatigue, and I think you know the kind of fatigue I'm talking about.
Why should...
Now, we've seen a lot of these already. Lots of stuff that just gets repeated. That's okay. That is quite all right. Israelis don't even pretend they're indigenous to the Middle East anymore. They just look at you like this. Look at this. That's nice.
Goyim! Am Yisrael Chai! Silly Goyim!
We have to laugh sometimes. Truth hurts. Okay, let's see. Any other new posts? Let's see. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee says, Israel needs an ally. The Jewish people need to know they have friends. As a Christian, I say to my Jewish friends, you'll never go through what you go through alone. We'll stand with you.
And right now, Israel needs an ally. And frankly, let me add, the Jewish people need to know they have friends. There's a long line of enemies that the Jewish people experience across this globe. And
for no reason at all.
Sadly, on some of our own university campuses, it's going to be a privilege to be able to be one of those people, not Jewish, Christian, in fact, but to say to our Jewish friends, you will never go through what you've gone through alone. We will stand not behind you, we will stand with you. And right now,
we will stand in front of you and bend over while we take it up the booty hole with a kosher butt plug at discount at Rabbi Shmuley's Butt Plug Dildo Shop down there on Genocide Avenue, downtown Tel Aviv. Nick Cruz called it. He says, I told you guys in the United States, Jewish white-collar crime is effectively legal. You are a second-class citizen in your own country. Federal charges were dropped, as we reported earlier in this stream, against Ori Solomon, the Israeli property manager who was connected to an illegal biolab in Las Vegas, and apparently he had one in L.A. too. But that's okay. Slap on the wrist. Nothing to see here. Let's get you a first-class flight to Tel Aviv. More updates from Beirut. This is just a picture, but apparently they're still bombing Beirut as we speak. No agreement, Habibi. Death and destruction till the cancer is removed. Wallahi, there is no other way. Israel just bombed Beirut, a major escalation. So you're an American? No, sir, I'm from Kentucky. We're an Israeli state. Emmanuel Macron has lost his lawsuit against the Guadeloupean artist Blow, the creator of this very beautiful work titled Non Lu, who has been cleared by the Pointe-à-Pitre Correctional Court. That's awesome. That's a great... I want to get it framed. Here's some information for you. Don't you like these infographic style videos? It says how Jackson Hinkle says how Iran is effectively bypassing the U.S. blockade of Iranian ships.
Reportedly, America blocked Iran's ports. Iran found another way out. Iran activated its rail route to China through Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. The sea takes 40 days. The train takes 15. The U.S. Navy cannot stop a train. America's blockade just became less effective. While America was blocking the sea, the UAE made a historic decision. For the first time in over 60 years, the UAE reportedly left OPEC. The reason is simple. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. No oil exports mean no money. The UAE cannot wait for America and Iran to finish their dispute. The UAE is now free to sell oil to whoever it wants at whatever price. The UAE was 15% of OPEC's capacity, and now that is gone.
Are you catching all these acronyms?
The oil market is more unstable than it has been in decades, and here is what no one is saying. If the UAE sells oil in Chinese yuan instead of US dollars, that could challenge the petrodollar system America has relied on since 1974. The petrodollar is under serious threat. What happens next? Tell me below.
Leave a comment. John Mearsheimer, we were watching him a little earlier. He says, it's not just Israeli leaders who support the genocide. You don't see any protest among the Israeli public. It's shocking. It's sickening. But to notice is antiseptic and Nazi propaganda. You have to file all this under the Nazification of Israel. They are like the Germans under Hitler. No. It's the people noticing that they're like the Germans under Hitler that are the real Hitlerians.
Particular leaders who support this policy in the side of Israel, you don't see hardly any protests among the Israeli
I see what you did there, PG. Very nice work.
public regarding this genocidal policy. It's truly shocking. And when you look at what the Western elites are doing, they're hardly doing anything to prevent it. It's just truly amazing. It's sickening. I don't know what else to say. I didn't think anything like this would ever happen, but it is happening.
All right, to turn your stomach
that guy wrote the book on the Israel lobby, and he's baffled.
little bit. This is a former member of the Knesset and former member of Prime Minister Netanyahu's party, Chris Cutt, number 10.
Every child in Gaza is the enemy. We are at war with the Gazan entity, the Gazan terror entity, which we ourselves established in Gaza, in Oslo, and in the disengagement. The disengagement that Prime Minister Netanyahu voted in favor of, that is the enemy now. Every such child to whom you are now giving milk, in another 15 years will rape your daughters and slaughter your children. We need to conquer Gaza and settle it.
Listen to this shit.
And not a single Gazan child should remain there.
Look at that.
Let's stop telling ourselves this deception just to score points in this game between pro-Bibi and anti-Bibi. This isn't about left or right. It's about winning this war, and it's about justice.
He's right.
When will we learn? When will we learn?
You're saying that this attitude is prevalent amongst the Israeli public.
I think that that's exactly right. I don't see any evidence that there's an uprising in the Israeli
Moshe Feiglin
public.
We've got to destroy all the children in Gaza. It's the only way. The Talmud said so.
Against the genocide. There are lots of protests in Israel, but those protests have to deal with the hostages and relations between the IDF and the government, but they don't have to do with stopping the genocide. I mean, you want to file all of this under the Nazification of Israel. That's where it should be filed. This is a country that's gone completely.
Do you have your filing cabinet ready, chatters? We got to file all this information under Nazification of Israel.
Completely off the rails. And the more that you see it in operation, the more it looks like the Germans under Hitler. This is just hard to believe. We're talking about eradicating all of the Palestinians in Gaza, murdering them. This is hard to believe. This is the sort of things that the Germans did. It's supposed to be never again. I don't see any evidence that people in Israel believe in the principle of never again, certainly when it applies to the Palestinians. And people in the West are hardly lifting a finger. This is a categorically reprehensible situation.
Agree with that. John
It's
Mearsheimer.
not the Israeli.
Former Trump supporter Tim Dillon calls Donald Trump and his MAGA movement the greatest con in human
It's
history.
the greatest con in history. By the way, it's the greatest con in history. I mean, truly. It's the greatest. And I don't say great in like a good way. It is truly the most successful con in history. It makes Enron look like a guy doing 3-card Monte on the street. Anything that you can remember and identify as a complete and utter scam, this is the greatest con in history. To run as an America first, and you're going to take care of America, and then turn around and go, all of these things, daycare, Medicare, Medicaid, we have nothing to do with that. We're fighting wars. That's what we're here to do.
Yep, he
we're here
literally
to
said that,
have a
too.
defense budget of $1.5 trillion, and we're here to fight wars. It is the greatest scam in history. You got to hand it to him. And it's the greatest con in history. By the way, it's the greatest con in history.
I mean, it's kind of like saying that Scientologists were just bad people throughout history. Well, yeah. I mean, it's only racist if you think that the Jays are a race. Right? I don't even think it's that, but you know what I'm saying. Why is this news? Elon Musk no longer following Ian Miles Chong. Ian Miles Chong called me an anti-Semite. Can you believe that? I don't even know who that guy is. Some shot of Lindsey. Sorry, I get my Zionists confused. I get my pedophile protectors confused sometimes. That's actually Ted Cruz. Let's see what this says. After receiving assassination threats from Israel and the United States, the Iranian foreign minister said, "Your threats are beneath our feet. If we feared death, we would not have entered this war, and we would not have offered our finest men as martyrs. Death is an honor for us while defending our homeland. We were born free, and we will die free." Fuck yes. We like that. Oh my gosh, this is like another hologram. Look at this. Boston, United States, May 25th, 2026. Yesterday, a man dressed as Adolf Hitler openly filmed himself stomping on an Israeli flag at South Station on Atlantic Avenue. What's funny about this is that Adolf Hitler was actually partnered with the Zionists. This is like another cowabunga. Somebody call the cops. If it was an IDF soldier stamping out a Palestinian flag, all would be well, though. Ireland is an anti-Semitic nation that seeks to boycott Jewish goods. And no, it's not about human rights. China, one of the world's worst abusers of human rights, is one of Ireland's largest trading partners, with no move to boycott them. So Ireland is anti-Semitic. Pass it on. Okay, but will you cry about it? Speaking of anti-Semitism, UFC champion Sean Strickland said he never met too many Jews that were tough. Maybe they're just so used to BOM-being kids. Wow.
I think the white man's going to do it. Although Stern has a little Jewish ring to it. I've never met too many Jews that are tough.
You did or didn't?
I don't. A lot of Jews that come into the gym, like, I love you guys, but...
There's not a lot of Jewish fighters.
I don't know why.
Not a lot of Jewish athletes.
They just like, I don't know, man.
Because they're placing the bets, guys. They're placing the bets on the athletes. Remember, The goy deals with the real world, the real supply chain. The goy does the real labor, toils with the real labor, and the Jays they speculate.
Maybe they're just so used to bombing kids, you know. It doesn't think the white man's gonna do it.
That guy is being way too based. He needs to stop it. I need to go take a shower. That was way too antiseptic. The heroic warrior Yuval Shaham fell in Gaza a year ago. Let me get out my tiny violin. The heroic Yuval was supposed to celebrate his birthday today. You know, I don't care how many times you call him heroic. It doesn't mean that he's heroic. Guys, share in the memory of Yuval Shaham, hero of Israel. One less child killer. Mashallah. I would have said inshallah, but I got corrected on that. Apparently you say inshallah for something that is supposed to happen, that God is supposed to fulfill. And mashallah is something that has already been fulfilled by God. Where's the hand emoji? I like to share this one hand emoji where it's like, maybe I don't know, those are weird, but let's do it like that. One less chicken swinging child killer, I'll take it. Look at this, AIPAC deleted this tweet. I didn't see this until just recently. They shared this tweet on May 20th, just as Thomas Massie was defeated in his primary. They say, Congressman Massie's defeat on Tuesday sets a clear precedent. Elected officials are free to disagree with us being AIPAC, but only briefly. And then they deleted the tweet. Why would they delete that? Probably because they got cooked. And it was a bad look. It's not going to help your cause there in the court of public opinion. You know? AIPAC gloating. Yeah. Yeah. No, there was like, maybe like a couple hundred likes, and there was like 6,000 comments. And they're like, I got to stop this. One thing is kind of funny. I should show you this. Speaking of getting, deleting shit and getting blocked and stuff like that. There's this account called Nazi Hunters. Speaking of Nazi. Oh, weird. Oh, that's so weird. They unblocked me. That's so strange. Nazi Hunters blocked me after they shared this meme. It says, if only Palestinians loved their children more than they love blowing up Jays, there would be peace, but they don't. And then they shared this despicable picture, which is supposed to, I don't know what they thought they were doing. But you see, it's, you can, I don't have to explain it to you. You see it. And all I said was, you're a sick fuck. And I ratioed them. And I know that's silly to talk about it, but I'm only bringing it up because they ended up blocking me. And it's just kind of funny. They're supposedly, they consider me a Nazi. They're called Nazi hunters, you know? The Bear Juden. Mizrahi Jews from Eretz Yisrael. We hunt modern Nazis, they say. And then they're like, block. This guy called me a sick fuck. Block his ass. Block his Nazi ass. But that's weird because I was blocked. I know I was blocked because I saw it and I wasn't able to reply and shit. But then suddenly, miraculously, they unblocked me. So I guess we live to troll another day. Okay, moving on. Ben Gavir says, they got used to decades of the police not entering their turf. Sorry to disappoint them. It's over. I guess he's talking about Lebanon. He says, yesterday I entered Tuba, Zangaria, together with the IDF, border guard, police forces deliver a clear message. We embrace the normative citizens, but those who collect protection money and engage in crime, the police won't back down. Blah, blah, blah. What the fuck is this? Look at Ben Gvir here. What is he wearing? He's dressed like a ninja. What is this?
פעילות נגד קובעי הפרוטקשן, נגד העבריינים, אנחנו כאן ליד טובה זנגריה, עוד מעט ניכנס גם לשם, המשטרה עובדת ערב כדי לטפל בתופעה הזאת.
The kippah has grown cancerously over in his entire head. Very nice.
שהיית בעל הבית, נגמר כאן, צריך לפחד. מי אתה שתגיד לי את זה? מי אתה? מי אתה?
שום שר ביטחון לא בא אלינו ואמר לנו אל תבנו ואל
Look at him pointing his finger at him.
נכון, ואני אומר לך שאם זה לא חוקי אני הורס. הרסנו כאן בתים.
Remember, this guy is a Mizrahi Jew. He is an Arab Jew. He's from Iraq. People like Daniela Weiss and rabid cult members of theocratic Zionism, they consider the Mizrahi Jews as lesser than. They're almost like Goyim. And so what did the Mizrahi Jews do to counter the racism that they experience, even in their favorite apartheid state? They have to double down. They have to be even more genocidal to prove that they're actually one of the Chosenites. And that's how you can understand Ben Gvir and how his rabid genocidal rhetoric and actions. It's like he's got something to prove, you know? Ted Cruz is bragging that in Texas gas is only $3.99 a gallon. Duopoly Destroyer correctly points out, in what world is $3.99 a good price? It should be like $1 something. But he's bragging. Why now?
And so the other situation is there's people like this. You are a protester who's been out here and you have a dirty mouth. But, okay, so
You're a Nazi bitch.
that's just what we deal with. So just for people that want to know what it's like to cover these protests, it's constant with this. This is what these people do.
Oh
They
my
want
God, these people.
who are in this country illegally to be released out onto the streets.
Oh my
DHS
God.
says that's what they're going to not be doing. So we'll see.
Bitch! Nazi bitch! That's what you are!
And so the other situation.
Nice. That was good. Douglas McGregor's reporting about the story about that Israeli citizen with the illegal biolab. He says Trump's DOJ drops federal charges on Israeli citizen accused of running a biolab in Las Vegas. Federal charges surrounded the possession of firearms. Here's the report. FBI raided a home of, this is from a couple days ago. FBI raided a home with an illegal biolab, found blood and tissue samples testing positive for COVID, hepatitis, and malaria. The
New at 2, we're half past the hour. A possible biological lab inside a Las Vegas home, now under investigation. A federal investigation. Agents seizing vials of unknown liquids and probing a potential link to a Chinese national accused of running a similar lab in California that held deadly pathogens. Our senior national correspondent
not one, but 2 labs. And they still let him go.
William Lajeunesse is reporting live on this out of Los Angeles for us. Hello, William.
Well, Sandra, 2 amazing things about this story. One,
the guy was Jewish.
The man who owns that Vegas lab, he's a Chinese scientist linked to the CCP, is and has been in jail the last 3 years.
Linked
Secondly,
to the
lab
CCP?
is not
What are you talking about? What? He's an Israeli citizen.
Vegas lab, he's a Chinese scientist.
For us. Hello, William.
Well, Sandra, 2 amazing things about this story. One, the man who owns that Vegas lab, he's a Chinese scientist linked to the CCP, is and has been in jail the last 3 years. Secondly, the lab is not an FDA licensed facility, but it's in a house in Vegas, raided Saturday morning by the FBI, SWAT pulling out boxes of what police believe are hazardous biological agents and pathogens normally found in a secure university or industrial lab with airlocks designed to prevent an outbreak.
The Chinese Communist Party has obviously infiltrated Las Vegas
Almost immediately,
under the guise of this supposed Israeli citizen.
investigators observed multiple refrigerators, a freezer, and other laboratory
tubs full of cream cheese
type equipment, along with numerous bottles and jugs containing unknown liquid substances.
Lots of pizza.
So the Vegas lab, according to police, belongs to 62-year-old Jew by Jew, a scientist.
Jew by Jew? What? He's obviously Chinese. His name is Jew by Jew. Goodbye, Jew.
A Chinese national and a fugitive who also goes by the alias David He. He was arrested in 2023.
That's not the same guy. What the fuck?
For manufacturing
Jew being Jew?
unlicensed medical devices.
Jews going to Jew.
And lying about unapproved HIV and pregnancy test kits that he was selling. He also operated this illicit
That's
biolab
not the same guy
in an
that
abandoned warehouse in Reedley, California, where investigators found thousands of vials of blood and tissue, 1,000 genetically engineered mice designed to carry the COVID virus, and
my
CDC tests
God.
did show the vials contained HIV, COVID, hepatitis, herpes, and malaria. Police arrested Jew and
I'm not leaving. Police arrested Jew?
He's been in jail ever since.
The Jew's in jail.
Congressional investigators linked the
But he's Chinese.
lab to the Chinese Communist Party.
Gotta get in your licks against the It's all goes back to the communists in China, of course.
That also suggests the same people are behind the Vegas lab.
Oh, yes.
What do we think these people were doing with those substances in the house? And I'll tell you,
It's like I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure they were Chinese.
The truth is we don't know yet.
So House investigators say Jew
Couldn't really make out much, but I'm pretty sure the guy was Chinese.
got financing from mainland China to create dozens of companies here and Canada. He employed mostly Chinese nationals to
Oh my
steal
God, Fox
American
News,
intellectual
you're
property
terrible.
and transfer it to China. His trial
China.
begins in
Let me.
April.
How he's being speed running. He's just foaming at the mouth. Every other word is China, communist, China, China, China. I'm confused because nowhere did they mention the guy's actual name, or, I mean, are these two separate stories? I mean, I'm very confused right now because the guy's name was Ori Solomon. That was the Israeli citizen, and he did look somewhat Asian. Somewhat. As it were. But his name was Ori Solomon. And he was the one that was caught with the illegal biolab in Las Vegas. The guy that they showed just now was not the same guy. I think they're trying to do a whole bait and switch. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything they want to offer about that? Look, if we Google Ori Solomon, this is the guy. And this is from earlier today. Federal charge dismissed against Las Vegas biolab suspect. And I'm sure they're going to whitewash it. They're not going to mention anything about him being Israeli. Am I going crazy? Yes, Ori Solomon is an Israeli citizen. He holds an Israeli passport, has been in the United States on a temporary E-2 non-immigrant work visa. He came to public attention as the property manager connected to a suspected illegal laboratory discovered in a Las Vegas short-term rental home. Okay, where is this reporting, Fox News? Solomon was initially charged with violating federal laws regarding firearms and hazardous waste disposal. So, what are they talking about the Chinese Communist Party for? Look over there. No, they said that the guy, the property manager, was that guy. They're trying to say that there's some Chinaman that's actually behind the whole thing. So you're saying Ori was the property manager, the main guy was the Jew be Jew? Jew be Jew. Oh, is that true though? Is that true be true? Do you really think that Fox News is telling the truth when they're talking about the Chinese Communist Party was behind this biolab? I mean, where's there evidence of this? Why is it now we're suddenly hearing about this new guy? I think it's a fake story. They said nothing about the Israeli guy and just they redirected to the Chinese guy. I'm telling you, there's some backdoor shenanigans happening to distract people, to deceitfully manufacture consent, what have you. They're lying to us. Palestine News Network has an opinion about Norman Finkelstein's latest controversy. Latest controversy. They say, I've always loved and supported Norman Finkelstein. However, I noticed immediately after October 7th that in all his interviews, he talked about how he was unsure of how to feel and was wrestling so much with whether it was right or wrong. It's true. He did waver about that, and he did say that what Hamas did on October 7th was an atrocity. Let's continue on. For someone's life, work, and source of livelihood to be the Palestinian struggle, and you don't know how to feel when the crushed people of Gaza rise miraculously with an uprising nobody thought was possible, it shows there's a big disconnect, which is why Palestinian Arab voices should always be the primary spokespeople for the cause. That's very true, and that's coming from an actual Palestinian. Let's say very true. Thank you. Oh, shit. This is awesome. Look at this. Remember Mario Nawful? We've been trolling him for months now for his baby brain geopolitical takes. He's always parroting Elon Musk talking points. He's just glazing Elon. He's like a little foot soldier in Elon's army. And every tweet is straight from Elon's anus into Mario's mouth. Well, interesting development here. I've wondered about this because Elon Musk is not someone that's going to tolerate the analysis of the people that Mario brings on his podcast, which are the same people that I listen to on other podcasts. That's why I listen to Mario's podcast, because he's interviewing these people. I don't agree with Mario's takes or his worldview or anything that it really says. I think he's an idiot. Sorry, but you got to call a spade a spade. But the people that he has on his show are very knowledgeable. Larry Johnson is one of them. Lawrence Wilkerson, all the people all the heavy hitters that we listen to. And I always thought, like, it's kind of weird because they're giving you a completely different worldview than the one that Elon subscribes to. And we know Elon and Mario are like, closely linked. And apparently Elon Musk is no longer following Mario. Oh my gosh. And look at this. So Elon actually commented on one of Mario's posts. And he said, and I'm just learning this in real time. He said, almost everything you're saying is false and simply copying fake news from other accounts. There is a U.S. government arm of SpaceX called Starshield, which has a different set of satellites than Starlink, which is for civilian use. The company that makes the suicide drones incorrectly used the civilian system instead of the Starshield. And Mario was very acquiescent. And he says, I don't know if you can see at the bottom, I'll move my video here. It's he says, deleted. One of our writers messed up the story. Apologies. Well, that wasn't good enough for Elon. Elon unfollowed Mario. It's over, says Adam. Looks like it's over for Mario. I mean, we've got to just... Yeah, this is Mario's worst nightmare, exactly, Martin. I mean, if you knew anything about this weird relationship, I guess, you'll know that this is big news. I love it. It's funny to me. Okay. Look at that. We hit the 4-hour mark together. We did it in stride. We did it with pizzazz, charisma, razzmatazz, if you will. Did I bedazzle and sparkle you with my wonderful geopolitical takes? Are you enamored with my commentary? Do you want to tap that like and subscribe? Is that what you're thinking right now? It's okay. You can think about it and do it. You can just go ahead. You don't even have to smash the like button. You can just lightly graze it with your finger. Hot and heavy. But I think that I'm going to take a break. I'm going to log off, and I ordered some pizza, and it just got here, and I'm incredibly hungry. I did my due diligence of noticing, and good God, I look terrible. I need to go get myself together. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. I really appreciate all of your communal support here. And like I said, we'll be back tomorrow as we do. I might be on Nick Cruz's stream. I'm not sure yet, but if not, I'll be here. And don't forget, Thursday, we're going to interview Butch Ware. If you have questions that you want to ask him or you want me to ask him, you can share them on the Discord. And there's a thread there. Oh, like I said, Obi-Wan added a thread called Ask Butch Ware. And submit your questions there. Thank you, Muter. Thanks for your super chats. Thanks for all your donations. You know, I love you guys. I love this community. Peace and love. Have a great evening, and I'll see you in Valhalla. But really, I'll see you tomorrow, I guess. More so. What else trying to say? Good night, everyone. Bye-bye. Peace and love. Love you all. Have a nice, restful evening.